What's up, bros? Welcome to another Brograph Brocast. I am Dave.
And I'm Matt.
And I'm David.
Aw, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So David is with us again. This is week number 3.
Booyah.
He's been with us, and if you're new to the show, welcome. This is Brograph Podcast, which is a supplement to Brograph.com, the Cinema 4D and motion graphics tutorial website. But on the podcast, we focus more on the little minor details and the business side of things and news and all sorts of fun stuff. So this is going to be a great show, I believe. So everybody strap in and strap on.
Straps.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa.
And
Oh, boy. We've already gone there.
That's too exciting for me.
we're gonna hit up a lot of topics. We had to push the program to today again this week because of a couple things, but I think it's all for the better because R18 was announced today.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
we actually
It's
talk
so
about
funny.
it
We
instead of
already had
waiting
like a really long show planned, and then all of
Yeah.
a sudden, like this gets dropped today, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Oh, no.
Well, it's all right. We can stay
Yeah.
up till all hours of the morning.
Yeah, except
all
that I
right.
have like a client project to do after this.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
and it's an hour later there.
Yeah. I'm
You're like
screwed.
me now.
Yeah.
Sweet. I woke up probably 1 p.m. today, so
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I was starting to get worried that Dave had died. Because he's got the pneumonia.
yeah, I was up till 4:30 in the morning working on a project, which kind of came out of the blue over the weekend, and so we were trying to knock it out because it had to go basically live today,
Which it did.
which it did, and this is Pokerock,
Pokerock.
which is Pokemon Go with the Rock.
It's so
Yeah.
awesome.
And it's very successful so far. It has been, how many hours has it been since launch?
7 or 8?
It's been about 8 hours, and let me refresh here.
8 hours.
It's at 331,000 views.
It
Let
feels
that
good, bro.
Sink in. Let that sink in. 331,000
I think if you
views
took
in 8 hours.
all of our subscribers and all of our views that we've ever had in like the 4 years of doing this, we would
Yeah.
not equal the amount that has been made by The Rock in 7 hours.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure you're right on that. Because I think it says somewhere actually on yeah, we have had in all of Brograph on YouTube and in all of our time we've had 229,000 views. So he surpassed our 3-year view count in 8 hours.
Here's something that I would like to point out. So what's cool is like they give credits and stuff. They put like credits down in the comments. And this
Yeah.
just goes to show how completely and utterly worthless the credits and disclaimers and, all the stuff that they put in there. There's 331,000 views, and they put our website in there as, doing the animation. And we have had 54 views.
Oh my God.
Well-
yeah, it's totally useless.
Well,
hilarious.
yes, but let's be honest. Probably only 54 people actually care.
Yeah, that's
and,
true.
and would matter. I don't think that anybody watching this type of video would even care.
Yeah, that's for sure.
about
but
who we
still,
are
I think it's
anyway.
funny.
But I think it is cool that they did that, and I think it's cool that at the end of the video, The Rock actually gave a shout out and thanked all the people who worked on it.
Yeah.
Totally.
So this video, we'll put it in the show notes so you can be one of the millions of people who are going to watch this. It's basically, we were asked to do graphics for this, like interface graphics, and to create a 3D version of The Rock.
The
That's
Pokerock.
Pokemon. The Pokerock.
We based him off of, I believe it was Machamp or Machomp.
Yeah, the guy with
Yeah.
all the muscles.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
2-armed one instead of the 4-armed one.
There's there's Machoke.
No, it was the four-armed
or
one.
no, was it?
Yeah, it was based off the four. That's the one I was using as a
Okay.
reference.
Okay.
Okay,
So yeah,
cool.
Machamp,
Yeah,
I believe.
Machamp is the
Yeah.
one. So it goes Machoke is the middle one, Machop is the initial one.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
So,
Speaking of, real quick, hey Dave, how many Pokemon have you caught? David,
Ooh,
sorry.
Pokemon pissing contest. I have caught 71 different types of Pokemon.
Oh, what level are you
I'm at level 21.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I've been playing it a little bit too much.
But you've only got
I stopped for like a
71
week.
and you're at level 21?
Yeah, man, you got to do. So like,
Well, I mean,
this
I'm
trick.
up to like 60 right now. I'm only at level 13.
Yeah, so there's this trick where if
Man.
you pop a lucky egg, which doubles your experience points,
Oh, right.
then
right,
you
right.
mass evolve all your Pokemon. Come on, everybody knows this. By
Yeah,
now.
yeah. I mean, that's what I do. I'll catch a whole bunch of
Right.
Pidgeys or a whole bunch of Rattatas.
Yeah, the
and,
Pidgeys,
then
them
evolve them
Caterpies,
all
yeah.
at once whenever I do.
Exactly.
And I can't catch any Caterpies.
Oh, really?
Like,
No idea
yeah.
what you guys are talking about right
Come on,
now.
Dave,
I'm,
get on
I'm
the
like
train.
struggling to get a Butterfree. You know?
Oh yeah, I just got a Butterfree. Yeah, I love that guy.
Mhm. I went searching all around my neighborhood the other day for a Venomoth and like just could not catch
Oh
it.
yeah.
I found a Poke Rock.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, so to
So-
win the I need to ultimately win the Pokemon contest here. So what's your top CP Pokemon?
I just threw a whole bunch. I caught a like 500 CP Scyther,
Mm-hmm.
and in the wild just earlier tonight. Actually,
Oh, I don't
needed
have a Scyther. I need that
I have
dude.
2,
Ah,
and
hate
both
you.
caught them in the wild. Right now it's a 592, but I've got a 715 Kingler.
all right. I shouldn't have even asked. Cause,
I know some of those words.
Yeah,
Why? What do you got?
my Vaporeon is 1725.
Oh my gosh, I have no
Yeah.
idea what's going on right now.
It's okay.
See,
Nerd
Vaporeon
out.
or
Oh,
whatever.
dear.
That's the last one that I have to get from my EVs.
Right. Yeah.
I've got Jolteon and
Oh,
Flareon, but
gosh.
I don't have that one.
I'm pretty
Sweet.
sure I'm a level 4 because I was playing the game in order to do this video
That's hilarious.
and do screen caps, and at some point it stopped working. And now when I load my thing, it says nothing. I have
Well-
no items. I have no anything anymore. I don't know
Welcome
what
to
happened.
everyone's experience. Oh, you have nothing.
The Rock stole your items.
The Rock stole your
Maybe
items.
that's well, you know,
That's
his
hilarious.
CP is infinity.
Right, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. He just does that kind of stuff.
So anyway, motion graphics.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
So so the whole premise of this video, right, is that first of all, there's some guy, you know, I don't know, some PewDiePie type dude who's like way into Pokemon Go, and
Right.
he does a channel. So first there's a quick thing of him in there, like he does Pokemon stuff all the time, and then there's this other guy who does a game channel. They got him to host this video, and he's looking for The Rock, and so The Rock is sitting there going, Rock, Rock, Rock,
And it's actually his
And-
voice.
It's actually his voice, and you know, they also had him saying jabroni, but they took that out of the final edit. I really liked that. I thought
Yeah.
it was funny. So he recorded all of
But
this.
if you know Pokemon, the Pokemon only say their names. They don't say other
Right.
stuff.
True.
Unless you're
Yeah.
Meowth.
It's like Groot
know.
or something. Yeah.
Right.
Meowth. What's up with that guy?
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
what does he say?
He says all
he
sorts
just
of
talks.
things.
He talks
Yeah.
normally.
Oh, weird.
See, Dave, you needed to, watch the
Hey,
show and all that.
okay,
back in the
David.
day.
How do you
Right.
say Pokemon?
I say Pokemon?
And
A Pokemon.
I say
okay.
Pokemon.
Or I
And-
say
and
Pokemon.
how old are you?
I am 30.
Okay. See, I feel like, and I tested Dave with this earlier, and I tested my wife,
Mhm.
and I noticed this. So the kids who were like way younger than us, who like
Right.
grew up with Pokemon,
Yeah.
call it Pokemon.
What? I've never
People
heard anybody
our
pronounce it that way.
age, you know, call it Pokemon, like it's actually pronounced.
I hear
and-
a lot of people call it Pokemon.
Yeah, that's the
I call
older
it
people.
Pokemon.
Older
Okay,
people call it
yeah.
Pokemon.
And I'm the
Right.
oldest of
Yep.
the bunch, so I
Yeah.
call it that. I'm almost 36, so that's
Yeah.
it's
You're so
it's
old.
because it was after my time. That's why I never was into it. There was
Yeah, it was
I was
just
a grown-up.
barely my time.
My fiance's mom visited this weekend and she was calling it Pokemon.
Pokemon. Pokemon. It's just like when I was a kid, I used to get really upset because all the parents would say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Engine.
and it drove me nuts because I was like, you don't understand that they're ninjas? What a ninja is? Like, that's not really a hard concept. I
Yeah.
understand saying Star Trek because you hear it that way,
Gotcha.
but like a track is a thing. A ninja is nothing.
It doesn't exist.
It's weird. It's funny how that generational thing works.
You guys keep talking. I'll be right back.
Okay. Do
that
it.
milkshake is hitting in.
Take a lactate.
It brought all his boys to the yard. So a little behind the scenes on this, since Matt's gone, he knows how this was all done anyway. Okay, so building the actual character, right? Now, here's the problem that I had. I had pneumonia last week. I talked about that. And as the week progressed this week, I actually was on medication for it. And then my other lung got pneumonia.
That's insane, dude.
Which sucks, which means it's double pneumonia.
Double pneumonia.
It's called double pneumonia because it can't move from one lung to the other. You have to get it somehow in both lungs.
That's insane.
So I like that really sucked.
Are you recovered now? You seem pretty chipper.
This is the first day that I've been like awake.
Well, thank goodness.
Like I feel like I've been in a dark hole for the last 7 days. I mean, what is today, Monday? It's been a week since we recorded. Yeah. And that was day 2 of it. And I felt awful when I got off with you last week doing the show.
Yeah, I know. You were like, "Can we end the show? Can we let's end the show?"
Yeah, I was so done.
Yeah.
But so the thing is that I've been kind of in this dark hole, and so I'm sitting here trying to start working on this project and still recovering, and on a whole bunch of like new strong medication because the other stuff obviously wasn't working, and so I hadn't had much problem with the body, but I was sitting there struggling with the face, and I was trying to like box model his face, and then I tried to start with a different face and turn it into his face and this stuff, and I'm not good with that organic modeling. I'm just not my thing.
Right.
Can't be good at everything. So when I got really stuck, it had been a few hours at least, I called up Matt and I was like, dude, can you look at this? Like, I am really struggling with this. And so he just busts out with the sculpting tools.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
And doing symmetry and all that stuff. And man, within a couple hours, we had a really nice looking face. And, we kept tweaking on it for quite a while after that. But it's cool because, I'm sitting there. I don't know much about those tools because Matt has used them a lot more than I have. And to sit there and watch him work on it, it's like, oh man, these tools are actually really cool.
Yeah, the sculpting tools are awesome. You guys are complementing each other's skill sets so nicely.
Yeah, that worked out because I don't know what I would have done otherwise. And plus, I'm just sitting there like totally like just dead inside, just feeling awful. And I'm like, I can't think about how to do this. I can't learn how to sculpt.
Yeah, I can't learn
now.
Something new. Yeah, for sure.
So that worked out. That was great. We got him built pretty quick. It was the other stuff, all the components and stuff that it was interesting to do because, how do you go about doing this and how do you do it fast?
Yeah. So did you end up like using the C motion stuff to rig him, or how did you end up rigging him?
Man, rigging, here's the nice part about this project is that it's like supposed to be the video game.
Right.
So
you don't have to do a whole lot. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not too concerned about it like being real nice.
Right.
So
you were like bend deformer.
Oh yeah. I had like pivoting points for different parts of him, bend deformers all over everything. The head was completely separate and just went through the geometry. But it's cool because we had a conference call with the people ahead of time, and we're talking to the dudes, about what they want it to look like, and they're like, well, we want it to look kind of crappy,
right?
Like nice. A video game, like the phone, so like the tracking's really.
Oh my
crappy.
God! So yeah, this is funny. I was like, hey man,
loved
I
the
can
tracking
help
when
you.
when like he was saying something and you tracked it like right on the beats or something.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious.
Oh yeah, he said, are you gonna sit there and just are you gonna be a whatchamacallit, like a little B word?
Yeah.
He called him some sort of I don't know. What were you saying, David? Sorry.
Oh, I was saying that when I saw it the first time, I was like, yeah, it's great, man. Except, I can help you with that tracking if you want. And you're like, it's supposed to be bad.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. It was all 2D tracking.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So rather than having to go into the scene and like pull all of that, I just threw everything into Mocha and just had it track. They had like a little itty bitty piece of garbage. So the way
I
that
did
this
notice
worked,
that you didn't put a shadow underneath him.
Yeah, do they have shadows in the game?
They do.
Crap.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I could have added that easy too.
Yep.
Okay, but tell your extremely awesome method for extracting that animation. That's what I thought was like genius.
So
right?
I'm sitting there like, how am I going to get this animation off of here? And I don't want to have to roto it or whatever. So first of all, in case you didn't know this, you can hook up your iPhone into a Mac and use the cable, regular charging cable. And if you go into QuickTime, where you could usually say record new movie, you can actually go into your preferences and change your source.
Oh,
so
no
you
way.
can say, instead of using your FaceTime camera, say use iPhone, and your iPhone interface comes up on the screen as a movie to record.
I had no idea you could do that.
So if you hit record, then you can just, anything you have there. So I'm sitting here just rolling on QuickTime and recording. I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this? So I look over and I've got this little thing my daughter made me sitting on my desk, and it's made out of a neon green piece of foam core. So I just turn it over to the other pure green side, and I get it set up in some good light, and I start playing Pokemon. But in the AR,
he
I'm
calls
just
it
aiming
Pokemon.
He does.
So, yeah, I aim it at the green screen because that's the easiest thing. So I've got this QuickTime recording of the green. I just throw it into After Effects real quick, throw a real quick key light in it, and I've got all my graphics keyed perfectly.
See,
it works really well.
I've done that before in when I was doing all these Samsung videos and we had to recreate the user interface and stuff like that. I got really good at it. And so anytime I would have to do something with like the camera or something, I would shoot it up against black so that I'd have like just straight black and white, and then just use that as a Lumamat. See, or what I would have done there, instead of doing the green, I probably would have shot it against like white or black, and then like crush the levels to where you just get white and black, you know, and then use that as a Luma. I don't know.
Yeah,
If anything was
totally
white,
work.
though, if anything's white in there,
Exactly. The green works better because the Pokeball could be white. But if you're shooting like an element, like especially stuff that needs to be screened on top of other footage, like fire, or like we used to shoot like steel wool burning to make like these, because when steel wool burns, especially if you shoot it in slow-mo, you get these crazy complex patterns of fire. And so I would like comp that into the sky of like in a post-apocalyptic type scene. And it's really fun shooting practical elements on black,
Yeah,
totally.
And that stuff is so much. I mean, it's fun to come up with something like that. You think, okay, how am I going to go about doing this?
I was impressed that your particular looked exactly like a incense. Like that looked so good.
No, was that
a screen recording?
No, you didn't. Well, I don't know if you saw the original, because that
see the
was
original.
actually the real incense.
Oh, okay.
The original one.
You're talking about getting particular going on. I was like, oh man, I was watching the video. I was like, that looks so good.
No, there was a previous version where it was like rotating around, and I actually motion tracked that in cinema. So and had my Pokemon on the map, but it changed all that.
I liked that a lot because it really sold it into the scene, because you were rotating around, and I was like, did you track that Pokemon map? Because that's awesome. And
it's
you had
easy
your little
to
rock
do.
dude sitting there. Yeah, because it's all digital. It's not like a real camera move. That's it's just like a very simple orbit. So yeah, that makes sense.
Well, and actually, I say it's not a track. It's I brought it into the scene. I set the origin point, because it's easy, because it's a locked origin point when it's rotating around. And then I actually, because it was only like 200 frames, I hand keyframed that because it was easier than trying to set up a whole scene.
Gotcha.
So I just put where he would be, and I just it was so easy to do it that way,
to match it.
Sometimes you got to brute force.
Yeah, totally. I know.
And so let's see, we got that. We got the face. The purposely doing the bad track.
Sculpting on the face was fun. I'm sure you guys talked about that while I was
we did
indisposed.
Yeah, we did. Well, I was saying how you saved me on that because I was dying.
Well, I've been practicing my sculpting, like in downtime.
Nice.
It's like one of those things that you just don't do that often, or that you don't need to. So I've been practicing like sculpting faces and doing that, and I really like it. I think
that's really cool.
The sculpting tools in Cinema 4D are awesome.
Yeah, they are.
And we were working with a company out of California that's a studio, And, first of all, they were amazing. It's like super great people, super great to work with. And in the end too, like they're super like appreciative of it and everything. And I love that. I love when, the people that you're working with are great to work with and the whole deal. And so one of our things too is we have to talk about, okay, how are we going to go about this in the beginning? Because, we know what our role is, we know what we're going to need, and we know what they're shooting. And so the solution that I came up with is, okay, when you're recording and when you have the guy out there and he's in the field and he's walking around, because we don't know how much we're going to see, how much it's going to match, any of that. Take whatever phone that the guy has in his hand, no matter what it is, just open up the camera app and hit record. And before you start recording, hold up the camera, both cameras, your main camera and the phone, at the same time, and do a clap so that you can match them together. And so that way, when you're editing, when he's walking around and you're doing the cuts, you're simultaneously cutting that empty footage at the same time of him just aiming the camera at the ground or whatever, so that when you cut to it, it perfectly matches. You see him move the camera up and down with his arm, or the phone up and down with his arm, it perfectly matches.
Cool.
And so we're able to just take that and match that. And I think they did the old trick where you throw like a little piece of crumpled up paper or something on the ground, so it looks like trash if you see it by accident or something, and that's how we tracked. And I mean, Mocha was just absolutely perfect for that.
Totally.
So yeah, the bad tracking, we'll have a link to that. And then the one thing about AE After Effects that I don't quite get. Now, I don't know how you guys do your tracks, but I like to go into Mocha, do my track, I export to clipboard, and then I go into either a null or an adjustment layer or whatever, any empty layer in After Effects, and I paste in the frames. And then I just parent everything to it. Because that's the easiest way to do it. And then you can adjust the regular layer without affecting the track itself.
Right.
So,
if you need to reposition.
With that, I would have just done a 2D tracker, or a camera solve or something like that, see if it would, or the 3D camera tracker and see if it would work.
Yeah, I mean, the 3D camera tracker in After Effects, while not great, that was just like a nodal pan that you had. It was just kind of, which means it's just pivoting around one point. So the camera tracker in After Effects has a setting for that. If you drop, scroll down to the bottom, switch it to nodal pan, and that'll just solve the whole thing in one go, like immediately, which is even easier than Mocha in that case. So that's probably what I would have done.
And honestly, if you didn't do the camera tracker, I would have just tracked that piece of, thing just using a regular, 2D
point track.
planer. Yeah.
Yeah, and I started to put that tracker in there at first, and I was like,
because honestly, the game doesn't move around the characters. The characters always stay in one point. You're moving around the characters. They're always facing you.
Right.
Which sucks when you're playing in your car and then you take a right turn as you're trying to catch someone, and then you got to turn left or look left while you're turning right, and then you just
Dude, you got to turn off the augmented reality.
I know, right?
I always have it off just because it makes it easier to catch the Pokemon.
Yeah. One thing, I specifically bought like a new
a battery pack?
No, it's not a battery pack. It's it's like a car phone holder.
Nice.
That is like
hilarious.
perfectly still the whole time, and it goes into my CD drive of all things.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
So like, it's perfectly still. So anytime you touch on a Pokemon, it always stays in that spot, and it's just a simple flick.
And that's hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
Are you doing that?
Welcome to the Pokemon episode.
Jeez.
That's awesome.
Pokebros.
Pokebros.
So the thing about AE though, on the whole camera tracking thing, is that a lot of times I would be copying different animations. Like I had different set animations for them, right? Like I had the basic move your arms up and down, and then
I thought that looked really good. Like the first draft that you sent me was just him standing there. I was like, oh man, he really needs to be like breathing or something,
Yeah.
I saw the DuckTales video game back on NES. You know, well, they did a remastered version for PS3 or something like that. It was really awesome. I bought it, beat it in like a few hours. You know,
Sweet.
but they did a behind the scenes of it, and the guy was talking about the animation of the character and stuff like that. And he said, anytime like a character is holding still, you know, in one place, make sure like he's just kind of breathing or like a little bit of motion or something like that. You know, it helps really sell it.
Totally.
I don't know.
Now, the thing about it is each set of animation moves, like if he picks up the mic and says, if you smell what the rock is cooking, or if he faces the camera and acts like he's talking, like I had a talking move. I had different moves for different things, and all of them would start and end with the same basic pose. So I knew that if I brought him into After Effects, I could move, you know, I could just move him around. So like if a section is too long, if a section is too short, I just take the time remap and I'll map him back and forth so that he ends up in that position, because it really doesn't matter, you know, at that point. This is real crappy animation, right? So like, you know, it's supposed to look like that character video game type look. So the beginning and end of each section always ended with that same keyframe, so they blended perfectly together. And so what would happen is I would put all these together in After Effects and I would have them on the track. But if you have something in After Effects that's parented to a parent track, like the motion track, if you copy and paste that layer, it pastes it like normal. It doesn't keep the parent on it. Yeah. Right?
You have to
So it doesn't save that.
Yeah.
I don't have that. Do you maybe if you duplicate it, it keeps the parent.
I wonder. I'll have to
Command D.
What I like, you're talking about like copying the position, rotation, scale, whatever.
No, just the track itself.
He's just saying copying the layer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because what I wanted to do is copy and paste the layer and then alt drag a different animation into that track. So just replace the footage, replace the media for it.
I have not had that issue, but I always duplicate.
Everything has to be parented to whatever. If something is parented and you're copying and pasting it, it needs to be, whatever you're pasting it into needs to be parented to that thing that it's parented. Otherwise, it's
well, you can't immediately reparent it, because what happens is its position like goes way out field somewhere.
Right. Well, you just undo it. Here's what I do. If I need to do that, I'll undo, start from scratch, you know, copy all my keyframes, parent my thing that needs to, you know, even if it doesn't need to be parented, I'll parent it to it, paste the keyframes, then unparent it, and then it'll change those keyframes automatically to what they need to be.
Oh, see, this isn't like, I'm not pasting keyframes or anything.
Never mind.
This was just,
I guess I'm misunderstanding.
This is just parenting.
You're just crazy talking.
This is copying and pasting an entire layer.
Oh.
And then parenting it. So my solution was to click on it, turn off parenting, copy and paste.
Yeah,
and not...
So I just went into After Effects and I tested it.
Did you try it? Yeah.
Yeah. So copy paste. Yes, you lose the parent. Duplicate, you keep the parent.
You don't. Okay, that's really good to know. That's good to know. Because my solution was to turn off parenting.
Okay, now I know what you're talking about.
And copy and paste it, and then I would immediately take them both and parent them back. Because if I didn't and I moved frames, it would throw the whole thing off.
Gotcha.
But so it's interesting because
this is why this podcast is hard, because it's so like you have to know your stuff.
Yeah. You have to vision it in your head. Yeah. But the thing is, videos like this are they look so simple. You know, you'd watch that and you'd be like, oh, whatever. But like, there's so much that
more
went
that goes
into
it. Yeah,
till 4:30 in the morning.
It's always true.
And the workflow too, it was great because everybody uses Dropbox. It's like, oh, I need this piece of footage. All right, and they would text me a link to another piece of footage. And I would just download it and throw it in the project. And everybody has fast internet. And so I would have the new thing. I would track it, throw it back at them within 10 minutes. Back in California, they'd have their whole piece tracked with all the interface and everything on it. It's just such a fast workflow. It was like we're in the same room.
Totally.
California.
I've been running into a lot of people that don't use Dropbox or like actually hate Dropbox, and that kind of blows my mind.
Really?
Like they're like, WeTransfer is the best, or like, yeah, I mean, I don't understand that at all. Maybe they're just like not doing. I mean, they aren't doing motion graphics, so maybe that's it. But I don't know.
Who knows?
Like, I
I got
love
clients
Dropbox.
I get clients who I work with all the time who don't use Dropbox, who just won't use Dropbox. And then I have older clients who don't even understand how to use Dropbox using
Right.
Dropbox, you know?
Because you can get a link from somebody, and you can either download it right then. You could say, if you're on your phone, you can say, hey, add this to my Dropbox, and your computer at home just downloads it for you while you're gone. Or you could say, here, you could just watch it in browser if you just want to see what something looks like.
Yep.
Get a preview.
Though I get a lot of problems with clients like freaking out because Dropbox's player kind of sucks, and it's like, download the video, please,
Yeah. But the thing is that a lot of clients who don't have, that was one of the problems I had before, is people who didn't have Dropbox, like, couldn't add these big, like, 2, 3, 4 gig files.
Right.
Because they didn't have a Dropbox account, or they didn't have a paid Dropbox account. You could just say download straight from there, and you don't have to put it in your Dropbox, which was the issue. So, man, it's just a lifesaver. I don't know how.
Yeah. I can't live without it. Yeah.
We were talking to Barton Damer had already been shoot. He was the same way. He's like, I don't know. We do everything in Dropbox. We don't have to use backup drives anymore. It's just all there.
Yeah. Who was I talking to? And I was like, yeah, we just do everything through Dropbox. And like, oh, I don't know. What if something goes wrong? I'm like, dude, this gets saved on 4 different computers as well as the cloud, You don't need to worry about it.
I always throw project files into Dropbox because it acts as a faster autosave, and it's saved my life so many times when, the actual autosave, like Cinema 4Ds, or, it'll get corrupted or After Effects or whatever. And, and like one time I like stupidly deleted like an entire giant folder and needed to revive a project, and I like couldn't because it was past my, however many days the history saved. So I just did a free trial of Dropbox for Business, which gave me the, unlimited history. It's like, actually Dropbox is saving everything you've ever done since forever.
Yeah.
So if you ever really lose a project, it's still actually there.
Don't put your kitty porn on there. They'll find you.
Oh my God. All right. Not the message I was trying to get across, but that's cool. Go for it.
Can I use a Dropbox?
Oh my God. Can I just say that Matt is also sitting here just eating his own beard? And it keeps cracking me up. He's just like, this is the thing. He's like growing out this like...
It's so long now. It's like, I don't know,
He
like
was making
3
fun of
inches.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It looks
but like, because
a
you've
monk.
got crazy hair right now.
I do.
You
but
literally have crazy man hair.
does.
Like,
Yeah,
you know,
it's
the
everywhere.
scientist
The
on
wispy.
any movie, whenever like
Yeah.
they come out and they're like, I've discovered something about the aliens. Like, that's what you look like.
It's true.
It's my new style.
It's a stop.
Brent Spiner from Independence Day. That's what it is.
There we go.
Nice.
So I talked to Ahmed actually this week on Facebook.
cool.
He's okay in Turkey.
That's
Good
great.
to know.
That's
Good.
awesome.
So Octane is safe.
Oh my God. And the person is saying
And
that is the very inconsiderate thing that none of us were saying, Dave.
I'm just joking.
Yeah.
No, I
Octane
talked
is
to him.
safe.
I was like, wanted to see if you were okay, and he actually complimented the plugin. I didn't know that he knew about the plugin, so I was like, yeah, I love what you did with that. And he did agree to possibly in the future be on the show. He's like, I don't know how great my
would be
English is
great.
going to be,
Right.
but I would love to talk about
Do it.
him or anybody else, even if we get somebody from Octane, like the in and outs of how you build something that renders.
Yeah.
Like, it's so complicated to use. Imagine how complicated it is to build.
Totally.
Like, that would be really fun. And even if we could get somebody from Max on at some point to come talk to us,
Yeah.
Paul Babb.
that would be really
We should
cool.
get Paul on the show
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
Paul Babb's so awesome.
That would be incredible.
next year.
That would be
Next
so
year at
much
NAB.
fun.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
going to ask us to talk. You'll see.
I
And then we'll
hope
be like,
so.
hey, Paul,
Jeez.
Hey, Paul.
you should be on our show with returning guest David Ariev.
I really like the way that we did things at NAB
Oh
where
my
we're
gosh.
like the official
Drinking a bunch of
reporters.
whiskey.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. Yeah.
That's kind of fun. The official reporters of Cinema 4D.
Yeah, I loved those videos, and nobody else had been interviewing those guys, so that was great.
And we need to do more of them next time too.
Yeah, we do. I wish we were going to SIGGRAPH. It's
Yeah, me
SIGGRAPH.
too.
SIGGRAPH time. Yay!
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
it
sit
is.
online and watch some SIGGRAPH
Yep.
live stuff. Yeah.
That's going to be fun. That starts tomorrow, Tuesday.
Yep.
Which is today if you're listening to the show when it comes out.
Oh, that's
Did you
true.
you guys watch Stranger Things yet?
I really want to.
It's on my
Everybody
list.
keeps talking
my
about
gosh.
it.
Man, with vacation and then I get back from vacation, I am still in Hawaii time. So like getting up at 8:00 this morning to like, it's so funny because you didn't even get up till 1 today. So I didn't have anyone to talk to. And I'm literally sitting at my desk and I'm like falling asleep trying to get everything done. Oh,
Man,
so bad.
that was my last 2 weeks. I was becoming a crazy person. Like, my family was gone all day every
his
day.
hair
I
just
didn't
kept
have
getting
anything
bigger
to do.
and bigger and bigger.
I know. The dude. Okay, like the opening and the graphics from it are so cool. Like, you got to see the opening sequence. It's really, really cool. It's all 80s throwback.
Yeah.
And something
Sweet.
else I read is the film grain that they actually went and like recreated by filming real film grain
Cool.
from the 80s. And
That's
then
That's
they
rad.
put like a layer of that over because they shot with the the red
VHS camera.
they shot with the
I have a VHS
the red
camcorder
Scarlet,
in my
the red-
closet.
Red Weapon.
Yeah.
I have a VHS camcorder in my closet, and I want to do one of those 24-hour video races with that.
With
That
it.
sounds awesome.
How are you you're gonna have to get some converter box to do the transfer.
Yeah. I mean but I want to also like edit manually, like you know,
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
there
do
you
it
go.
insert in,
legit,
insert
legit.
end.
Yeah.
Nice.
That
You
would
could
be
maybe
awesome.
go find an old PanaSonic MX12 switcher.
Dude, one of my
put
clients
some
that I work
effects in
for,
there.
they've got them.
They've got them.
Yes, they still have them.
MX50 or MX12.
I don't know.
The MX50 has even like. More
I mean, I would
really
have to shoot
awesome-
on Super VHS, of course, to get that better
Of
quality.
course.
Well, yes.
I didn't even know such a thing existed. That was
You-
before
really?
my time. Really? I was before my time.
That
Yeah.
that deck right behind me. That's an SVHS deck right behind me.
Nice.
I've been
Nice.
cataloging stuff. The SVHS 456 reporter. That's the SVHS cam you want, and it had the translucent lens cap on it.
Uh-huh.
So it wasn't like a black lens cap. It actually let the light shine through. So you would go into a room and you would put the cap on and you could white balance to the cap. I thought that was a genius idea.
Cool.
That is cool.
So
Anyway, yeah, they probably shot on the Red Weapon because that's the newest one. If not, it was the Dragon, which I've used a lot.
it might have been Epic now that I think about
So
it.
yeah. I mean, well, they all say it's Epic Dragon. So it was first Red Epic, then it was Red Epic Dragon, then it's
I
Red.
see.
Then it's Red Weapon. I don't know if they call it. I don't think they call it Red Epic Weapon. I don't know. Epic
Jeez.
Weapon. So
Such a good shot.
Yeah.
do you shoot on that stuff, David?
I used to shoot on the Red Epic. We would rent it, and I went through a phase where I had a Steadicam, and I would put it into low mode because everything looks cooler in low mode. That's really close to the ground, and everything looks cooler at 90 frames per second or like 200 frames per second. So
Sweet.
yeah, I don't know. It was fun for a little while, but I at some point decided that I wasn't a very good shooter, and it would take doing it all the time, to get good at it. And like I'm also kind of clumsy, and so I would like trip over crap. I was not a good Steadicam person, but I dabbled in that. It was very useful to learn all of that to get better at visual effects and understanding
sure.
how an image is composed and all of that. So
Now,
It
how
was
can you be
good.
good at swing dancing and be clumsy?
because everything is just a learned skill.
I get that reference.
Yeah. Everything is just learned, so like I mean, I guess I could learn myself out of my clumsiness, but yeah, I think I'm just a little bit naturally like clumsy, or I just don't care, and I sit at a computer too long, I don't do enough physical stuff. So yeah, I'd rather be inside a computer living in the hive mind.
Dude, I went on the easiest hike in the world in Hawaii while I was there, and
Sweet.
it was awful. I was so out of breath the whole way.
Oh yeah, we're so out of shape.
but
God.
I mean, it was a beautiful walk. It was the most
I've been doing
amazing thing.
sprinting interval training.
Crazy.
Is that where you just get up
That's why
off
you
your
got your
desk for like
pneumonia, I bet.
and just like sprint in place for like 30 seconds?
No, I mean that's part of my.
I would like to see that.
I've been doing interval training at my actual workout. Of course, then I got pneumonia from doing that
Pushing
so
too
hard. I
hard.
really think that's why I got pneumonia.
Yeah, that sucks. Double pneumonia.
So you remember we were talking about Facebook too a couple weeks ago. I was talking about how I can just post something vague and everybody will just rabble. So I did do that. I forget what I said we were gonna what I was gonna post on. Oh, no lives matter.
Oh my God.
No lives matter. Got a bunch from that.
I do not condone this.
I did a social experiment this week where I posted a picture with absolutely no caption or opinion or anything. And I just waited as like 100 comments came in of people arguing with each other.
Right.
It was great. I mean, this is what I do when I'm sitting on the couch
picture?
with double pneumonia.
What was the picture?
It was a picture of a whole bunch of white people at a Trump rally holding up signs that said "Latinos para Trump."
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that and I thought, what is Dave trying to say? Oh wait, he's not trying to say anything. He's just posting something.
So I just wanted to see what it was great. I mean, all the assumptions from both sides of the fence that came out of it. I mean, I'm sitting on the couch, dying anyway. I might as well just mess around.
Stir some stuff up.
Yeah, that's fun.
Brilliant.
So let's talk about Octane.
All right. No, nothing. I hate politics. I'm so tired of it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, me too.
Vote Gary Johnson.
Is that the independent guy?
No, he's the libertarian.
Okay. Gotcha.
So
Go
basically,
ahead.
you got Trump, you got Clinton,
Right.
you got Jill Stein. She's the Green Party candidate. And
Gotcha.
then you've got
Sanders.
Gary Johnson.
Okay.
Sanders.
Did you say
Shows-
Sanders?
Sanders.
Yeah, Sanders.
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie
Yeah.
Sanders.
Go
No.
ahead, throw your vote away.
So anyway, Gary Johnson just needs 2% more, and then he will actually be in the whatchamacallits, the debates.
Cool.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be really happy when this election's over. Let
Tell
just
me
tell
about
you.
it.
Oh my gosh. Last time on Facebook, it just got so bad. I was like, I cannot wait till we can all go back to being upset about gorillas getting shot instead.
That's true.
Like
Anyway,
I'm gonna
let's talk about
welcome that.
Octane 4.
Let's talk about Octane 4. This is
Sounds
something.
so fancy.
Do you remember when they posted a couple things on what was the site that did live video on Twitter that nobody remembers because Facebook Live is around now?
Periscope.
Periscope.
Weren't we just like posting on
You
Periscope,
guys were
but not like
periscoping.
3 or 4
Totally.
months ago?
Yeah, totally. Okay, so when they posted some stuff on Periscope, I actually cataloged it and saved it on Vimeo so people could see it because those videos disappear after like, I don't know, 3 days or something. They had briefly talked about their roadmap and where they were going with Octane 4. They're still obviously working on 3.1. Oh, which by the way, before I forget, this is something that I saw. Oh man, I'm gonna have to find it in the Reddit subreddit. I think the other day.
The
Somebody
Reddit
was
subreddit,
asked-
huh?
Reddit subreddit.
Sorry, in the Cinema 4D subreddit, where somebody was asking about 3.1, and somebody from Otoy actually responded about how they're at the point now where they're just wrapping up their like final minor versions and updates of Octane 3, and the whole team, like they have a certain point on these where they transition, and then they said they're about to transition over to 3.1, the whole team. And they already have like a lot of resources on it, but it's about to go full resources all the way over. So that means like all the AMD stuff, the compatibility stuff, the tune shader stuff, all of that. That's about to be like their main focus now.
That's awesome. I
So-
can't wait for that tune shader.
That's going to be
Yeah.
fun. That's going to be fun. But the Octane 4, the roadmap they were talking about. Okay, here is the sub headline to this article. It says Octane Render 4 prototype achieves 100 plus million rays per second on a 2-watt power VR ray tracing mobile GPU core, a 10 times increase in ray tracing performance per watt compared to GPU compute ray tracing in Octane Render 3. So like
Sweet.
this is ridiculous. This is like what we're doing right now and seeing in near real time. It's not only going to be better, but it's going to be doing it on a bigger scale and in VR.
Yeah.
You could just imagine where this is going. Because David, you and I have been talking a lot about these VR headsets the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And just imagine you're going to have that Octane window in a VR headset, basically.
That sounds awesome.
It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Otoy said about 8 hours ago on Twitter, they said, Keith, version 3.1 feature should be completed and nearing release in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
But we heard that about 3. You know?
EJ can finally rejoice and, use his trash can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's doing VR stuff too, by the way. I don't know if you saw.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
I think he's going to be presenting something about that at SIGGRAPH this week.
Oh, cool.
The Maxon booth.
That's rad.
Apparently, it's like super, super like big renders, which is understandable.
Mm-hmm.
But that it's looks interesting because it's kind of like EJ's take on VR. It's his style.
Right. No.
It's
Yeah.
his VR.
So when we had that, he and I and Jate all got together in DC because Jate's the dude that has that sick, HTC Vive setup.
Mm-hmm.
EJ was kind of using that as a starting point for his research to some degree, but also there was this other really cool video that was inspirational to him where they were using, I don't remember the name of the VR system, but it was like you could use your hand and it would track your individual fingers, and then you could actually give gestures to these cartoon characters.
Leap motion.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I have one.
So cool.
Yeah, I've got one of those.
I've got one of those. So
I've got like 4 of them.
You would give a peace sign to the monkey, and he would give a peace sign back, and you'd flip off the monkey, and he would also flip you off. So just a fun, VR experience with really good animation. So yeah, he's been inspired by that, and he would like to get into that with his cartoon, awesome cartoon characters and stuff.
I briefly tried to interface that Leap Motion with Cinema using Python, but I wasn't able to get the two to talk to each other. Like the libraries, I don't know, something about the libraries. I tried for a really long time. Maybe I should try again, but I really like the thought of being able to rotate around things and maybe model or at least use tools or something in Cinema using one of those.
Like that tilt brush type thing?
Yeah.
I love the tilt brush. Oh my god!
Because I don't know if I could really day-to-day model with one of those headsets on, all the time. But I could imagine if you had kind of a, what's that movie, the Minority Report type thing,
right?
It seems like if they could get it down right, and you could really memorize the gestures, that you could really be faster and more efficient than a mouse. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the tilt brush thing was amazingly intuitive, and having those palettes, it felt like the palettes are attached to your arm, and then you're just touching them and painting in 3D. It was actually not tiring at all, really natural. Yeah. I wouldn't mind modeling. I mean, I would love to model in VR, and I feel like that's for sure the future is that it's not just going to be games or even VR experiences. It's going to be our 3D and other applications are going to move into that realm too, Well,
Unreal Engine is actually, they have something they're building for the new, I guess they're doing it for Unreal 5, but it's being able to build in VR, so actually work on your project with the headset on. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
They showed that off on YouTube or something, and that looks super intuitive.
Yeah.
Because it's built to do that. It's not like you're taking their tools and trying to adjust. They're building it in such a way to where you don't have to take the headset off.
Right. And I mean, it makes sense to do that stuff in context. Yeah.
I mean, that sounds really cool because it's really fun to build that stuff and then put the headset on and be in it. But to have that added experience of you're in it and you're like, oh, let me just take this wall and move it over here and make it wider, and you're just constructing a room that you're in. That's super fun right there. I mean, that's that's not a job anymore. That's a game.
No, that's a game. Totally.
It's great.
Yeah.
Speaking of Octane 4, sorry. Back to their Twitter that they said, I wanted to point this out. Someone had asked, they've got a MacBook Pro, and they wanted to add a render PC to their setup. And they said, is it possible to get live preview on my MacBook Pro using the PC's GPU? Mm-hmm. And Otoy responded and said, yes, and soon. Intel/AMD Macs getting new fallback option with Octane 3.1. Headless rendering plus network rendering on NVIDIA PC. So that's pretty cool. So maybe you could keep your regular Mac and then, just buy like a crappy PC with something. I don't know.
I think this is the thing that they showed off in one of those videos too.
Oh, really?
They showed you can have like an offline version of Octane on a system that doesn't have the right kind of video card or full capability.
That's cool. Yeah.
So you guys ready to talk about some R18?
Yes.
Yeah. By the way, I just want to say good job to you guys. You guys are amazing for the past 2 weeks.
Thanks.
You guys killed the numbers last week.
Oh,
Like
sweet.
absolutely
Thanks,
destroyed them. And by what the fans have said, they don't want me back.
Oh, that's right.
So yeah,
Don't be so hard on yourself.
So did we actually hit that 1,000?
We
hit
did.
The 1,000? That's awesome.
did.
We hit
Yeah,
the 1,000 marker for 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows what it is? I mean, that's a problem. It's RSS. I don't know. It's not actual download numbers,
Yeah.
so you don't know. And so, like when you look at monthlies, we have way more than that. You know, we've got like at least 2 to 3 plus the Vimeo and YouTube numbers. So I don't know. If I had to guess, I'd say between 2,000 and 3,000 people listening. You know, which is pretty good for such a niche.
Such a dinky little podcast.
Right. It's very niche listening to a podcast, number one, and then this type of subject matter for 2. But
My wife listens.
my wife,
That's awesome.
She listens every week. She doesn't understand half of what we say.
That's really
And sometimes
very
she
sweet of
argues
her.
with me while she's listening, not realizing that I'm not going to answer back.
That's awesome.
So,
If I sound like a frog right now, by the way, you guys, I think I've got poison ivy in my lungs.
that's not good.
Not good. I cut
No.
all the crap down in my backyard, and I got a ton of poison ivy. But I also have this like raspy voice right now.
It's
hoping
really
it just-
sexy, I gotta say.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm hoping it just sounds more sexy, but yeah, it's probably it might kill me.
Can you do the guy from the
Hi, I'm David.
Brograph.
For Brograph. Batman.
Can you do the guy from the movies like In a World?
In a world.
That was pretty
Yeah.
good, Dave.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right.
See, whenever I have a
you seen
cold,
that
I'm really good
stupid
at him.
movie In a
I
World?
have. It was not good. I
No,
didn't like
it wasn't very
Yeah.
good at all.
Yeah.
Anyway.
One
Cool
man.
story.
So
Yeah.
let's take a methodical approach to the features list.
All right.
Well,
Now,
okay.
I haven't
first,
had as much
let's
time,
do
but-
this. Let's do first initial impressions.
Way better than the feature list of R17.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like this update is way good in comparison to the last update.
Yes, very much so.
What did
I
the
feel
last
like
update give us? They gave us
Take system.
the pen stuff. Oh, yeah, and the takes. Those were pretty
Polygon
awesome.
pen. Yeah.
Take, the take system is pretty powerful.
Mhm.
The thing is, I bet you they were working on a lot of this last year and just weren't ready for it yet.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like, that's the thing. You have to be, for investors and all that kind of stuff, you have to come out with a release every year. There's expectations.
Mhm.
You got to do what you got to do. So, I mean, I'm sure they had this roadmap, and not every release is going to be super epic,
Mhm.
Totally.
But let's do we'll do a methodical approach to it, I think, and do
Sweet.
like a rundown. We're gonna start with the Mograph stuff. I'll just kind of name some of this stuff off, and you guys can tell me what you think. I do plan on doing a like a features overview video, like I did for
Cool.
R17 last year on
Cool.
Brograph. And but
telling you we
I
should do that
mys-
together where we're just recording each other's, video and
Yeah.
then just going back and forth on it.
Totally. Because I, have not had time today to really dig into this stuff yet.
I did.
Uh,
I watched every single Cineversity video. So,
Oh, did you?
yeah.
Yeah, I watched all but
literally
one. I wanted to watch all the Grayscale Gorilla stuff too, because they had some really good, Chad Ashley is so informed and they've got good kind of more in context breakdowns. I feel like Cineversity can be really, abstract, like here's a bunch of spheres, whereas I feel like Grayscale, they're more likely to jump into a project and be like, this is useful for this real world situation,
Yeah.
Right.
I love myself some Chad Ashley. He's a
me
cool
too.
guy.
He's so nice.
Yeah. He's going to be at the Chicago thing as well as a lot of people.
Are you going, David?
I don't think so.
man,
sorry.
come on.
Yeah. We'll see. When is it again?
September
It's in
14th,
September.
I think.
It's just so hard for me to justify like going for a single like half day. I mean, I know we would hang out more than that, but it's like it's
just show up early Wednesday
Okay.
morning like we are,
Mm-hmm.
Tell you what, we'll get a room for all three of us.
That's what I was going to say. Let's just
Okay.
You
let's
know?
split the Airbnb.
Yeah.
I'm
we'll split
actually
an
also
Airbnb.
I'm going to a wedding in Chicago in September, so I'm not sure if it overlaps. That would be
Let's hope
amazing.
it's like
That
the
would be
16th.
perfect.
yeah.
It's probably like the same night of
yeah,
Vafres.
that would suck. Oh my god.
Dude, but like EJ is going to be there and Chad and a
I
bunch
know
of our
everybody's gonna be there.
listeners.
Beeple's gonna be there.
People's going to be there. Like, it's going to be amazing. There's going to be
It's
so
gonna be
many
off
awesome
the
people.
hook.
Yeah, but how can you talk to all those people in one night? It's impossible.
Quickly.
That's true.
Yeah,
In a
quickly.
group. In a big group.
Yeah.
We'll just all show up in a group.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, Mograph. Hide selected clones.
I didn't know that one.
I
That's
didn't
pretty
see that
cool.
one. I guess I missed that one.
So
Well-
the cloner has a crapload of new stuff that's pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like the fact that when you're doing something with clones, and if there's certain things you don't like, you basically have to mix it down to geometry and then go delete all the stuff that you don't like. Now
Right.
you can just select them and say, "Hey, I don't want these clones over here," and they just disappear.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Did you couldn't you have like like set a MoGraph selection tag on a specific clone and then done something with it in the past, or is that not true?
Maybe that's probably a possibility. This is just easy looking because you can use a paint tool and just paint them out.
Oh, sweet.
what I like
Yeah, that's
about it.
awesome.
And the same thing with clone weight. Like if you have effectors, you can paint different weights for the effectors onto things. So you say, you could set up a pattern, or you could set up like an area around something and say, don't affect these, as much, and set the percentage weight. That's cool.
Cineversity showed off like using two different paint weight effectors or something, for two
Right.
different effects, which was pretty cool. I like that a lot. The new honeycomb like thing.
Yeah, the
oh my
honeycomb thing
gosh,
is really cool.
That and
The
being able
hexagonal
to
cloner, yeah.
being
Okay,
able
well, Matt,
to,
you explain it from the beginning because I didn't read much about it, and I know you went like in depth into that one.
the honeycomb
Totally.
one.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know how whenever you're trying to create brick or trying to create, tiles that are slightly offset or something, it's kind of a pain because you've got to create your tile and then you've got to put a null object in your cloner, And
Right.
so, but you have to make sure
Right.
that the number is like off a little bit so that it's perfectly even and stuff like that. And it just kind of sucks. Well, with the honeycomb one now, it automatically does that and offsets it. And you
Right.
can even set it if you want more offset or less offset.
Totally, you
which
can
is
adjust the
really
offset.
cool.
Yeah.
So, and then, whatchamacallit? What was the other thing?
That'd be good
Oh.
for shingles too.
Yeah, totally good for
Yeah.
shingles.
Apparently, so with that, the end side is like the default, like perfectly works for
Yeah,
it or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
so-
honeycomb or the six-sided
the
engon
hexagon
or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Totally.
But the my favorite thing, so like normally whenever you're doing originally whenever I was doing like a honeycomb thing or like an offset like brick pattern or tile pattern or something, you would throw your null and stuff and then you'd have to get everything lined up correctly, or like you'd add more stuff and then you'd have to rechange it.
Yes.
Yes.
That was
Or
one of
there
my
were-
favorite things is that you can now just click on a different
Totally.
option and it'll just add stuff like it does on the linear one,
Yeah, exactly. You used to have to hack that, or not hack that. Used to have to like do a complex kind of espresso setup to get that to work. I think I've seen other tutorials doing that, but yeah, that's an option that should have been in there since forever, which just lets you, it keeps the same proportions, and as you add more and more clones, they don't overlap, they don't populate inside that same predefined box. You can set it to, it's called per step cloning, allows you to just add more and more onto the end. And then there's also a cool thing where you can hold shift, as in, when you're sizing an image in After Effects, you hold shift to constrain proportions. This lets you constrain the box, kind of the whole grid that contains all the clones, which is pretty cool. I think that's right.
The new cloner stuff is pretty awesome. Like,
totally,
that's gonna save me a ton of time.
And so the name of that is Honeycomb?
About that. It's called, I thought it was called the hexagonal cloner, but you might be right.
Yeah, it might be hexagonal. I don't know. It's basically like, so you've got the linear, you've got the grid array, and then you've got like the honeycomb or whatever. Hexagonal.
Yeah, totally. Honeycomb's big. Yeah.
There's one more cool thing in there.
It's not small.
No. What is that?
Yeah,
I know it's from Futurama, right?
No, it's from
gotcha.
Honeycomb
I wasn't getting
commercials.
Inside jokes there.
It's from the
Honeycomb cereal.
Really?
Didn't you grow up in the 80s, dog?
Yeah, but I know that they had made that joke in Futurama.
Oh, that was in reference to the commercial.
Oh, all right. It's probably before my time. All those people who say Pokemon.
Yeah.
Pokemon. You got them Pokemans. How about caching?
Yeah.
Oh wait, hold on. One more thing. Sorry guys. So under the there's a new way to, it's similar to object, like cloning onto an object, but it's under this like form tab. So you can basically populate your grid within kind of the silhouette of another object.
Yeah.
So it's like a totally different way to do this.
I thought that was cool. It's like, so you can do a grid array, and then you can say, okay, only show up in this particular area, in this object
box.
area.
Yeah, exactly.
And so,
I thought that was cool.
So this is what's cool. This is what I was thinking. It would be really awesome to use in like recreating like the LED lights or something like that of stuff moving across. Like,
it does look like that.
You do a whole grid of something, and then you could create this animation of something, and then it like looks like LED lights are actually showing up. That would be pretty cool.
That would be rad. Yeah,
that's just a
man,
thought.
that would be great for for shingles for a roof. You can imagine you set up the because I've had to do this, and let me tell you, it's not easy. I had to buy a special plugin for this.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah.
To make like a grid of something fit a certain area, just say, look, here's my roof. I want to line these up in honeycomb in a grid, and then just pop it into this area on the roof. That's like perfect for architectural.
It's awful. Yeah, doing it originally. This is going to make it really, really easy.
Yeah, man. So
anyway,
caching
is exciting. I'm really excited about that.
You know what? Sorry, last thing. You're right. It is the honeycomb array. I'm just going to interrupt you guys every time you try to say
That's
caching. Okay, so yeah, you win. It's the honeycomb array. Okay, now on to caching.
You can save cache files. That's the big thing right there. Like everybody else does.
That's really
That
cool
is so
because
cool.
One thing that they pointed out on Cineversity is that the size of now you don't have to worry about the size of your project being that big every single time you make a new iteration.
Totally.
That'll save a ton of disk space.
Yeah,
and
that's
you can
pretty
do
cool.
different caches for different takes as well, which is pretty cool.
Right. That is cool. So there's something about this that super blew my mind. You can now get more control over your dynamics this way. So you can bake out one cache. Say you have like a final logo resolve where, all the clones end up and create some kind of logo, right? And you have them all drop in, but they don't quite, get to the point where you want to art direct them. You can set up just a straight up, grid, like in a fixed position, bake out that cache, and then have two cache tags, and you can actually blend between them.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Up the strength.
Really?
I thought that was super cool. So
almost
like dynamics,
a camera
which are
morph or something, but only
exactly,
with your
it's
two
like
caches.
morphing.
That's pretty cool.
So I thought that kind of blew my mind there. Yeah,
That's sweet. I didn't see that earlier.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So we got the MoGraph stuff. How about the fracturing? What do you guys think?
Fracturing's cool. I think we're going to see a lot of it.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think I am still, if I were to do a fracturing project, I think I would still reach for Nitroblast just because when I saw Trevor Kerr do that. It like looked beautiful.
Yeah.
And you can sub-fracture and sub-fracture and sub-fracture.
I think you can sub-fracture.
Get those.
Sub-fracture.
Okay.
Watch
Okay.
it was the very last video that I watched, I believe.
Okay, cool.
And
Well, I'd like to...
like you set up a fracture like size, and then you can add an additional one inside of that and change the size of those. And then you
Cool.
can probably do another one and increase as
Okay,
well.
great.
So
Cool.
it's
Well, yeah,
pretty cool.
I'd like to compare those things for sure. Yeah. Totally.
Anyway,
See,
that's,
I mean, that's kind
I
of
feel
like-
I feel like people are going to use that like crazy. Honestly,
Totally.
I could have used that today as well on a project that I was working on. I even asked Dave. I said, "Do you know how to make stuff like look like it's cracking and stuff?"
Mm-hmm.
Even
yeah,
searched-
I was like,
looked
I
at
told
the old
Nitro Blast.
Andrew Kramer crumble tutorial, and I was like,
Yeah.
"No, that's not going to work for me."
No, that's awesome. So like, yeah, one of the questions we got last week actually was, what's our wish list? I think Sage asked this, what's our wish list for our R18? Well, I had put, I want stuff that's more like Houdini, where,
Yeah.
I mean, like C4D is such a great tool for solo motion graphics artists, but if it were an amazing tool for solo VFX artists too, that would be sick, So I would want like Houdini, but easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
make the ease of use like so, and make me able to art direct it, like the other cool thing about Houdini is like you can pipe water sim into a fire sim into a destruction. You can have all these systems interact. So like if we were able to do, if they get better with their VFX tools, it would be awesome to be able to, have all this stuff in one package and have those systems, interact and stuff. Anyway, so yeah, this seems like the start of answering my wish basically.
Yeah.
I think they're getting
Voronoi.
there.
Yeah.
I really do think that they just, somebody posted something about in the subreddit about, if, I'm learning a new tool and everybody's saying use Cinema 4D, but then I hear people talking about Maya, but Maya is just a monstrosity and is just
It is.
absolutely horrible interface, the worst interface on the planet. And it was a whole
It's not
discussion
too
about
bad.
this.
It's not too bad.
And about like, I guess they're talking about like, like engineers designed Maya, and like the people who designed Cinema 4D had more of the ease and use in mind from the beginning. Like it's all about the interface, and it just seems to me like with every iteration of their tool, they're going slow. They're doing it methodically. It's a slow and steady process, but to me it seems like every time they up their game, and every time there's something about their competitors that become, less and less alienated. I guess, more people are going to start with Cinema 4D.
Here's the thing: like Maya and I think 3ds Max are adding in all these MoGraph tools now.
Yeah.
Right.
In order to try and catch up to what Cinema's already got.
Totally.
So
I saw that at NAB when they were showing 3D
Yeah.
Max off. They're trying to do those MoGraph type tools.
yeah,
And of course, what Cinema's trying to do is up their modeling game, which, it's not exactly what I'd like it to be. There's a lot of things I would like to see in it, especially more stuff like modeling in Maya, which brings us to the next section.
The beveling. My only wishes for modeling in C4D are beveling. I wish the bevel was still better. Like it got better, but it is still nowhere near what Maya's beveling is. And I wish you could chamfer really easily between two objects.
Yes,
It
that's
just
what I was going to say.
doesn't happen.
You wish you could what?
Chamfer,
Chamfer, yeah, I get you.
yeah. So
However you pronounce it.
yeah,
Totally.
Yeah, that's
So
the
anyway.
thing. Like, I don't know why they don't bring that, because that would be such a useful tool. Make these seamless things instead of you having to build them from scratch. Just take two objects, put them together, boom, you're done.
yeah.
Totally.
It's such a time saver. The knife. There's a lot of really cool stuff that they have done with the knife.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Like
was
if you
really-
watch the video,
I use the knife all the time, and so
Yeah,
I'm
me
really
too.
happy that they did that.
Right. So now it's like 3 different tools, right? We've got what are the 3 tools again? Like
I don't
loop path. I can't remember.
plane and whatever.
Yeah, plane cut. You got line cut, plane cut, and loop path. Yeah. So yeah, that's cool.
The thing though is that the way they have the HUD like set up to do the
Right.
slices and stuff now is so cool. I really like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And you can do symmetrical cuts, which is rad.
Yeah, totally.
And the way you can kind of set up your line and rotate it and get it all set before you do the slice.
That's
really cool.
That was one thing that I found in 3ds Max that I enjoyed, is that you basically would set up your tool and set up certain things before you would even decide whether to do it or not. That
Right.
was something that was really big in 3ds Max that I think they're adding, in this.
Something I would like to see them add to that. Well, I guess it's not knife related, but it is modeling related. Is I would like to see, you have your loop and ring selection. I would like to see in every other polygon ring selection.
Or being
That would
able,
be amazing.
Yeah, being able to do, or even set how many, like I want to skip every second one,
Intervals.
every 2, every 3. That would be
Totally.
killer.
Because when you're doing like that hard surface modeling stuff and you're trying to do like something real technical looking or, like space
like
models type stuff.
Oh, what was it we were all doing the other day that we were trying? A column.
Oh, the column.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all our different versions of the column the other day, 4 months ago.
The other day. Dave's version was the best way to do it.
No, it wasn't. Mine
Yeah,
was.
He was convinced. I don't know. I don't know.
I still think it was.
If you use bools, you are doing it the wrong way.
Yeah, probably.
It's true.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So with what was I going to say about the cutting stuff? You can now project a spline onto geometry, and it'll cut that way.
Oh, yeah,
So like,
that
from
was
the
cool.
camera's perspective, you can just like project that spline on there, which is really cool, and then like just extrude that.
Love that.
Yeah, it's super cool. And then there was one more thing that I can't remember.
Chopping
whatever.
Julian and
Oh, yeah,
chopping,
the
dicing, and Julian.
That was more of the fracturing stuff.
yeah,
though.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I feel like, with the cut tool now looks like almost creating splines in After Effects. It's like, it looks very intuitive where you can like easily reposition the points.
Yeah, I
and you
did
can,
like that.
Add points really easily and just kind of move it around and then, commit to it. So that was really cool. Yeah.
And they got baking displacement now.
Baking displacement, they do?
What?
Yeah, that's
How
part
do
of
you
the
mean?
modeling stuff. An optimized raycast algorithm for baking for baking sculpt results as displacement in normal maps.
I thought,
Oh,
I thought
that's
you
cool.
could already do that. don't know.
I don't
Maybe I'm
think
I don't
wrong.
know.
so.
I know you can turn the sculpting stuff obviously into, polygons and geometry, but didn't know you could turn it into a displacement map.
I'm pretty sure that we saw some, the two girls who were doing the medical stuff at NAB a couple of years ago. I'm pretty sure they were sculpting and then taking that sculpt and turning that into a displacement map.
Or maybe they were doing like a difficult method to get there. Maybe it's easier to do now or something.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Now,
Anyway,
this is the one I didn't quite understand because there's no explanation. It just shows a picture of something. It says set UVW from projection. So it says with the
No
set
clue.
UVW from projection tool, you can quickly create and update UV coordinates for multiple objects and even entire hierarchies based on common projections.
I have no
So I
idea.
don't quite understand what that means.
No idea.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I thought maybe y'all would know. We'll have to look into that one. Animation, okay, the object tracker.
Oh yeah, that's more of the VFX stuff that I'm super in love with. I'm like, oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I just want a project now as an excuse to use the object tracker or
Right.
like
For sure.
do something.
You need to get one of those like hoodies and put like all those dots on it. Just be ready.
Dude, that'd be a good idea for a shirt or like a hoodie or something like that. With
Yeah.
automatically put dots on there,
Totally.
Say
In the
VFX
back it says,
artist or
don't
something.
track me, bro.
Oh,
Don't track
that's
me,
good.
bro. You guys, that needs to be your next item of clothing.
There
to
we
sell.
go.
That's awesome. Don't track me, bro.
So this, what I'm interested in is because like I'm not big on the camera tracker in cinema only because I use external programs that
PF
have
track.
a lot more control. I'm wondering because of course there's object tracking and PF track. I'm wondering
Right.
the extent of this and how good it's going to be. You know, their example shows the ship offshore and you got the flag, and then there's like a rope going from the shore to the boat itself.
No, I was
And-
watching the
Helmet.
guy's helmet thing.
Yeah.
And
That
that looks
too.
awesome.
Yeah, that
You
one's
need
good.
at least, they were saying you need at least 8 points
8
in order
yeah.
to get a good track.
Right. Well,
So-
what
At any
I'm
given time,
wondering
yeah,
is like
totally.
the measurement part of it. Like in this scene they have with the post going out into the ocean to the boat, like how is it judging the distance? Like and can you adjust that, and how do you figure that stuff out? I
You
wonder
can
what the-
adjust your scene scale, so like you can tell it, like in the video they show that you can tell it the distance between 2 points,
Mm-hmm.
and then it'll kind of scale the scene for you to the right size.
Yeah.
It seems to be all based on kind of 2D point tracks, whereas I think in PF track there's a mode where it can kind of just lock onto whatever, it could just be a face and it'll still try to do its best job to object track. So it's probably not as robust as something like PF track still, but it's really cool that we can, use cinema to do this kind of work now.
Yeah.
Just like right in there, which is great.
If it works well, that's great.
Yeah.
Parent constraint, we've got the new parent constraint tag that lets you like pass an object from one object to another. Which parent has it? So like the example here is a robot arm
Cool.
moving something. That's always been something that's been a little bit difficult to handle, and there's
I think that was my frustration that I did a little thing on in my NAB talk was when, my stormtrooper caught the snitch. It
Yeah.
was very difficult to get that transfer, and I had to swap the objects basically and have one
Yeah.
that was parented to the hand and one that just, was before it was, before it was caught or whatever. So that sounds great.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's funny because that's good to know that it wasn't there. The option wasn't there before because I just thought I
Right.
didn't know how to do it. I just had a project where I needed to do something like that, and I wasn't sure how to do it.
I've come across some good tutorials on that, but still those things are heavily involved, and it just seems to me, I mean, I haven't watched it yet, but from the looks of it being a parent constraint tag, you could just keyframe the parent that it's pointing to and done.
That's awesome.
Constrain it to this, constrain it to that. You're done. Maybe put a null object where you want it or something. That
Yeah,
sounds like it's going to be useful.
They've got something similar to that in 3ds Max. Basically, what you do is you keyframe once you want it to be constrained to the parent or whatever, and then keyframe once you don't want it to be anymore. I don't know.
Cool.
Oh yeah.
So hopefully that's similar. Hopefully.
Now, from rendering perspective, we've got the thin film shader,
Which is
which
cool.
interesting.
Yeah.
It looks cool. Octane has something similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking
It's
about the
film index or film
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Film index. Yeah. If you mess around with that, you get all sorts of crazy cool psychedelic colors and
Yeah.
bubbles and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did that in a case, in a phone case that we were producing at one point.
Yeah, I forgot
Sweet.
about that. I like that you can set the I don't know. I thought it was really neat. I think their film shader or whatever gives you a whole lot more control than the Octane one.
That's probably true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Inverse ambient occlusion.
That's really
That
cool.
was cool. Yeah.
Creating the fake subsurface scattering is pretty neat.
Yeah, that was rad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing he did was he used it to create, damage effects or whatever.
Almost like a
because-
dirt shader or something like that.
Exactly like a dirt shader. So the way I understand it, it's like the rays are either hitting the crevices, and if you invert that, they're hitting the corners. So you're isolating the corners, and then you're using that as a mask to, add damage. And then he like overlaid a Luca noise or whatever, but he set it to this weird blend mode called lever, which basically he said like modulates the contrast of the layer underneath. So that like basically broke up all those edges. So he like isolated the edges and then was able to break them up in an organic kind of way. And then
Use that
have that
as an
as the alpha to reveal back to another texture, which is very similar to what you would do with like the dirt shader and Octane. So yeah, really, really freaking cool.
Yeah,
That's
I thought
pretty
that was
sweet.
neat.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that I'm missing, not having not using the regular render engine that much. Like you can't go
Right.
in and put that kind of shader in there if you're using Octane.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, and of course the shadow catcher and the parallax thing.
Yeah.
Shadow catcher, there's been plugins out there for shadow catcher.
Right. I've used plugins for that before, but this is great that it's built in now, and that's another really useful
shadow
VFX
catcher and reflectance catcher. So
Yeah,
you
oh,
can
that's
set it
cool.
to do the
Reflection.
reflectance as well instead of the
Right.
shadow, which is like incredible. That's something that I
Right,
wanted
so
to do on
it'll-
the project that we've been working on, you know, where you've got this reflection in the ground but they need it all against white, you know.
Oh,
So
yeah,
what I
yeah,
wanted to do
totally.
is just take that, and then I'd love to just be able to take the reflection and put that up against white, you know.
Totally.
Now,
Okay, I
I,
guess I
haven't
can do
looked
now.
at it yet. Now, on that reflection catcher, is it catching the whole reflection without the object?
I have
Like,
no idea.
with-
They didn't
without an
show any of the
obstruction?
reflection ones. They just
Yeah.
showed the shadow one and showed that there was an option for the reflection one as well. Basically,
that's
what
I'm
you are
always missing.
you're setting I don't know. You're putting the shader on what you want to have the reflections from or the
Right.
shadows from.
Right. So the way he set it up, unlike the shadow catcher, which kind of had its just own alpha or whatever, he set it up with kind of a almost like bringing in the footage onto like a plane or whatever, like almost kind of like a camera projection type setup, and then it would catch, I guess, either the GI bounces, like the color of whatever the object was. I don't really know. He didn't really show it in much detail, so hopefully there will be some more, tutorials.
Yeah, I
in
mean,
there.
he put the shader onto the floor, and then whatever
Right.
shadow was onto the floor, that got exported with the alpha or something like that. I don't really
Right.
remember.
I don't know.
But
And
it looked cool. It looked a little
Totally.
rough around the shadow, but I think that's
Yeah,
probably,
it did. I had noted that. It looked really grainy
Yeah.
and nasty.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And the parallax on the bump map. I mean, this
Oh
is
my gosh.
just
that is
really awesome.
That's awesome. Like
Yeah.
Totally.
like not being able to, and it didn't look like it changed any render time or anything like that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's basically it looks like displacement, you know.
Yeah, so I was wondering how that works. Whether
So
that's
as were
like,
we.
Like it seems to me like it's like so it's offsetting the pixels and not doing like a true like adding geometry like maybe like displacement is doing. I don't really know how that works, but it's like you could imagine like camera projection, is a fast kind of setup. It's just shifting the pixels around, so maybe it's something like that. I don't really
I
know.
think so.
That was my question,
but
too,
Gosh, it
because-
looks good. It looks so
Yeah.
good.
My
Yeah.
own question on that is like, if you could do this with the bump, why not just incorporate this technique into displacement to have faster displacement? I don't know if there's still a
Because
difference anymore.
displacement is, you're actually creating geometry versus
Geometry.
this, is just how light reacts or how, I don't know, one thing is seen
Yeah, I
over
don't
the
know.
other.
But if it's the same thing in the long run, in the end, like the same result, why not just put like fake it? Yeah, it's still displacement, but it's this thing.
Yeah, I
You
don't know.
know, it's just calculating it differently. I don't know. Lastly, to the workflow enhancements. First of all, the viewport and the real-time
Viewport.
reflections.
Super sick. Oh my god. Yeah.
Totally.
I'm gonna be using that to do all my previs now.
I know,
like,
right?
You've got like reflectance, you've got ambient occlusion or screen space ambient occlusion. You've got, I don't know what else. I think those were the main things. Yeah.
Even when they were showing off the MoGraph stuff and just using that, I was like, man, these balls are so shiny.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm sitting there looking at that too, and I'm thinking, we are getting, because it's like that video game technology, we are getting so much
Right.
closer now to like your actual render being in the viewport that you're working with, and there being no difference
Absolutely.
between that.
Absolutely. So yeah, with like hardware renderer, you can get close to a final result now. And you can even do displacement. You can see sub-poly displacement.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one.
That's awesome.
See, I've had a hack for that, which is just use the displacement deformer, and then it shows
Right.
the viewport.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I don't know
But
why they didn't.
this is a much lighter solution because this is just a viewport thing that runs on your GPU versus the displacement deformer, which is, I'm pretty sure, your CPU. I'm not sure, actually.
Interesting.
I don't actually know. I'm just.
I'm sure,
assuming.
but I'm not sure.
I'm sure, but I'm not sure.
What about
And
the what is it? The push apart effector?
Yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah.
looks cool too.
Yeah,
Forgot about that.
yeah. That one
So
looks
that-
exciting. Now, no longer
that's like-
do you have to deal with overlapping clones.
Yeah, exactly. So if you've got like a field of grass or rocks or something, and you want them never to intersect, that's a great use. Yeah.
And so this substance engine thing this substance engine has been like getting really popular in other circles.
Yeah, Substance Painter and Substance Designer. That's my next kind of thing I want to learn for sure.
That's
And
really
it pipes into Octane really nicely. There's a tutorial series from Glass Hand Films on it and how it interacts with Octane that I've been meaning to watch. So yeah, totally.
You'll have to send me the link to that. I want to check that out. I'll put that in the show notes.
I will.
If you
Cool.
send it to me.
For sure.
The thing is, like, if you go to textures.com, for example, and they have a whole section now with substance engine or with substance textures.
Yeah, and I told you last week that I was starting to download those because they seem super beautiful,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, of course. I mean, they've got like all the different layers, like everything's perfect. All the normal maps and
Right.
all of that is in there.
Who is this?
Totally.
Who is this? Textures.com?
Textures.com. Yeah, they've now got a section on Substance Designer. And they've got a section that's very similar to Real Displacement, where it's like, 3D scans that you can recreate through the displacement channel.
They must have heard us talking crap.
They must have, yeah. Another cool one, Open Subdiv. So that's like a technology from Pixar from like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
That's like, it's kind of like how Alembic is like the God format for 3D models. This is like the God format for smoothing subdivisions. So it's like you can now just set it from the standard
Catmull
Clark to the Open Subdiv version, and so that'll mean that wherever you're sending your models to, the smoothing will be exactly preserved just the same way, and so will all the weighting, like subdivision surface weighting. So that's pretty cool. And there's something that could be great for Octane, is that if you set it to adaptive subdivisions, that's handled on your GPU. And also, it also saves on polygons. That's the main thing.
Oh,
I
I really liked that. Like on
Right.
all the parts that are like, say, straight or don't need
Yes.
additional polygons, it just
Exactly.
it doesn't add additional polygons.
doesn't add
only
those
adds
additional
them where it
polygons.
needs them, like on
Yeah, so
curved
that's-
areas.
that
Oh,
could
that's
totally
interesting.
Yeah.
totally save on your viewport and in Octane. So that's a big one.
Yeah, and your initial calculation times, I can imagine that. Some of the other optimized preferences, 720p default resolution to begin with. I mean, if you're like me, you have set default setups anyway, and that doesn't really matter. Interesting, though, that they're changing the default Phong angle to 40 degrees. What is it now? 60, 80? What is it?
80?
60?
I have no idea.
I don't remember what it is by default now, but I don't know why they decided to make that change. It's interesting. And this other thing, select visible off. I don't know what that is. I guess I just never use it. Select visible is off by default. So
I have no
don't
idea.
know what that is. For previs, you can paint directly on mesh without needing textures or having to unwrap UVs.
Cool.
That's neat.
Open subdiv import.
Re-effector. We haven't covered that one yet.
Which one
so
is
there's a new effector other than the push apart. So it's
yeah.
kind of like an effector of effectors. It's like a master effector, and it can kind of like strip away other parameters that other effectors have set. So like if you've got 3 random effectors, one affecting rotation, one affecting position, one affecting scale, you can get it to just in a single linear fall off, wipe all that out, or change everything to random color or whatever. So it's kind of interesting. You can morph between like other effectors and colors and stuff. Yeah, so that's a cool one.
Totally.
And the last small thing that I had that looked super cool is that you can now versus just setting individual MoGraph selection tags, you can like, I think you mentioned this a little bit, artistically like paint weights with the MoGraph weight paintbrush. So that's like a new tool. But really like would speed up art direction. You can smooth it like with other brushes. You've got smoothing modes. So that looked super cool for animation and all that.
And they updated exchange format stuff too, so that seems to get better every time. It says FBX can now embed substances and their attributes, which is interesting. And DDS import now. We'll import DDS files directly.
Wait, are those the texture or image?
That sounds like. Do you remember Element 3D stuff?
Yeah.
And they were like, how do you import DDS? Is that it?
Yeah,
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the
That's good. I encountered that once in my life. So it's good to know that I can do that now.
Yeah,
Yep.
the models that came with the new Star Wars pack that
Yeah.
Star Wars pack.
came out are all DDS. You can do them directly now.
It's good.
Mhm.
That's pretty cool. I don't know. Is there anything else? I think we covered.
I think that's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's
We're
go
doing
to
great.
let's go to questions because this was something that came up, of course, last week when we had our questions, which was, what do you hope R18 has, and what do you think it'll actually have? Well, we know what it has now, so we'll talk about, wish list anyway. But
Right.
and by extension,
I
what's
already
your
said
biggest
mine. Chamfering and
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
beveling.
And by extension, what's your biggest gripe with cinema that they still haven't fixed?
Chamfering and beveling.
So yeah, there's what we talked about, but is there anything else?
I don't know. I was saying the stuff about wanting to make Houdini but easy version.
Yeah.
More intuitive, like more user friendly. Like for instance, there's this program called Speed Tree, right? Specifically for designing trees. And I played around with it like a year or two ago. Like but it's super sweet because you can do all these incredibly complex things, but the whole time it feels like so user friendly and fun. Like you're just like art directing these trees and sliding sliders, and like the whole time you're seeing this real time, GPU calculated tree that's like blowing in the wind, and it's like
That's
there's
nice.
like so it these programs can be really complex and really powerful, but they don't have to be like horrendous to look at and to use. They can be both, and I feel like that's where cinema hits its stride. Is like, it's both. It has incredible depth, but on the surface, it's friendly and easy to use.
I'd like to see more GPU stuff in general coming from them, and it looks like they are.
Yeah.
There's still some things, and I probably have things on my list from last year, that haven't been addressed yet. That was on my wish list, but some of the things that here's the thing about this. I have an ongoing list in my notes of things that I would like to have in the next version of Cinema 4D. Like at all times. Anytime I come across it, I add it to that list. And so, one of the things that still happens is if you are working on your computer and you have multiple monitors and you have Cinema 4D open, and you have something else open, like say Safari is open in another window. If you click back to Cinema 4D, your Safari window will disappear from the other window. If you command tab over to it, it won't happen. But it will it will hide that window basically, even though you just clicked on Cinema 4D. The other thing that they haven't fixed, and
Which
this happens to
operating
me.
system are you on?
Oh man, this has been happening to me in Cinema 4D for 5 years. It's always done this on every computer I've had, on every system.
Yeah, but you sure it's not your operating system? Because aren't you still on like Panther or something like that?
No, no, it's Jaguar. No, it's dude. I mean, I'm talking for 5 years on any system I've had. This is how it is. You're in Cinema. You click over to open a browser, you go Google image search or something, and then if you click back on the window, Safari just disappears. You'll notice it now that I've brought it up.
I've only got one monitor.
And so
I've only got one monitor, like a poor person.
like a poor person.
Like a poor person.
So the other thing about that too is there's another gripe I have with them about having separate windows. A lot of times I like to have two camera views. I like to have the camera view that I'm currently using. I like to have my other windows. But if I'm modeling something on a bigger scale, I like to have a camera, maybe a fixed camera that's a wide shot of what I'm working on. And so what I'll do is I'll tell it to make a new viewer window. And when I go to that viewer window, I'll open it up on another screen and make it maybe full screen and say, okay, this is my establishing shot wide view of everything, just so I can see what's going on while I'm in this window building the individual pieces. And sometimes I'll even leave on like a real low, I mean, this is pre-Octane, but a real low resolution region render window open. So I just get these continuous low resolution updates. Inevitably, every time, any system I use, any operating system I've done it on, Cinema 4D will crash when it has an extra viewer window open somewhere. Every time. Always, always, always crashes on me. And I just eventually just gave up on doing that. Other things is if you, what is it? Click and drag an object. I don't know what this is that I wrote here. Okay, I'll just move on to the next one.
All right.
I wrote click and drag in object fillers. Filters?
Flyers?
I don't know what that is.
That's okay.
Anyway, okay, this is another gripe of mine. If you start a new project, let's say you start an empty project. Every time I start a new project, what's the first thing I do? File save as. Yes. Yeah. Empty project. Nothing.
That's not
in
the
it.
first
Save
thing
as.
I do.
Because I'm establishing it. I set up my render settings.
Because I have
always,
really poor saving habits.
And I
Gotta
will
get your save tick on.
I'll save my my render path immediately, the whole thing, so it's all ready to go. And I'll set it up. It's good to go, but it's an empty project. Usually, if I'm working on a logo, the second step that I do is I will import an EPS file or an AI file in order to bring in an outline of something I want to extrude. When you open an AI file in Cinema, it opens it up as a separate project, right?
Does
you drag it? You drag an AI file into Cinema, and it opens up its own project.
Well, are you doing file merge?
Merge.
Well, you could use merge, yes, but a lot of times somebody just sends me the logo. I have an empty scene, and I like to bring it in because usually I have to do a lot of cleanup first, and I have to set it to origin because it's never at origin, and I like to clean it up, and then I clean it up, and then I bring it into my new empty project. But the empty project is gone. It's just gone. It hasn't disappeared off my drive, but it is no longer open, even though it's not like I started a new empty project with no name. I have set this up, I have saved it, but it is empty. It disappears. I'm like, well, where is it? And then I have to go open the project that I just started again and then copy my stuff into it.
I've never
It's
noticed
been like that for
Just
years.
do file merge.
Yeah, I do that
Instead of dragging and
sometimes.
dropping.
But I'm one of those
Yeah.
people who likes to drag files from my Finder. I don't like to go
Right.
file open, let the hard drive spin up, navigate back to the folder. I like to have my project folder on the left at all times. So, let's see.
Sure it's not your operating system?
I know it's not my operating system.
Matt, I like how you and I are just like, when Dave is like talking about all his organization, like on Zico, we just like ruined that first After Effects project file. We're just like, Dave was like, I set everything up for you so that everything's color coded.
Here's the thing.
And we just
His
like
organization,
we just pooped all over it.
He is overly organized, so much to where it's not organized.
Do you know how much time I've saved
is
though going back into old projects?
So hard. Yeah, because you know your file structure. The thing is, like,
Everybody else has to
you
decrypt it.
you have a from graphics folder. It's okay, not to dog on you or anything, but really we're only working in Cinema 4D and After Effects and Premiere. Just have one projects
Sometimes.
file. Like
Well, a lot of times though, you're working with editors, and they're on the external edge of that. They don't need your files.
I have a graphics folder, I have a projects folder, and I have a rendered folder, and that's really all I ever need. All my JPEGs and stuff I put in my graphics folder. All my projects I put in my projects folder. All my rendered stuff I say from Cinema 4D, from After Effects, approvals, and final. That's it.
Well, as a graphics project only, that makes sense. I get that. It's mainly when you're working with like a bigger piece of a puzzle, like you're working on a huge edit, and then there's these graphics within it.
Project file, you make your Premiere file, and then you just add a new folder called video.
Yeah,
That's
it depends on the size of the project.
Video.
I don't know, man.
Nah.
Well, the whole thing though. Okay, so anyway, the camera. My biggest pet peeve is when I'm in cinema and I move some stuff around and I turn the camera back on or off, and like the top view changes to the camera view. I'm like, no, not that one. And you have to wait for it to move to perspective view, and then you click on it again and it moves back out to top view, and then you got to click on perspective view again and then click on your camera icon again to get back to it. Like I always accidentally hit that. And so I want to be able to tell the camera,
well, you should probably change that muscle memory.
No, it's not even a muscle memory thing. It's that if you had the wrong view selected at the time, it'll change your top view to the camera that you just turned on. It's like, no, not that one. My perspective view, my camera view. Like, I don't want to change the top view to what the camera sees.
Yeah.
I don't want to change the top view to camera. Or if you're in the top view and you start a new camera, it puts it in the top view and not in as a parametric thing. It's like, no. I want to be able to give it an option and say, every time I turn the camera on and off, change it in this view. Don't change it in my front view. I don't want to change that. I just want to lock these viewports and not have them change.
Yeah.
Right.
I bet there's people out there that are like,
I
hate that
feature,
too.
though, of R19.
Well, it could be a minor
R19, Dave's
minor
features.
Yeah.
Dave, we worked all year and we fixed all of your obscure feature requests.
It's the little things, man. I'm telling you. Yeah. I'm telling you. There's probably 100 people out there who are going, man, I hate that too. Man, I hate when it does that. I wish it didn't do that. You know, it
And
wastes
one of
about
those people are listeners.
And it takes 10 seconds of my time every time, and I do it 10, 15 times per project, and then I do 1,000 projects a year, and then
Maxon owes you so much of your life.
and then times however many people, how many lives are we saving if we just change that
saving
feature?
lives here.
That was Steve Jobs' philosophy. That was his philosophy on boot times on the Mac. How many lives are you saving by taking 1 second off the boot time?
There you go.
There you go.
Other things, exporting an AEC in a complex project always crashes for me.
Doing
And
what?
Bring in the C4D file into After Effects.
Boo earns. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, just do that.
Half the time it doesn't work, and there's weird
Hit caps
things
lock so that it doesn't load at all.
Which
so
version
that,
of After Effects are you on?
Oh, this has been happening for years. It's the same thing. Like if it's too complex of a project, and it doesn't make sense to me because we're exporting compositing tags and lights and a camera.
Most of the time, like if there's camera movements, if it's slipping for some reason, you gotta always bake your camera. That's the one thing that I've found with it. I don't know.
I haven't had too much problem with that actually. It's just that if there's complex geometry in the scene, which doesn't make sense. Like it's not exporting geometry, so why does it matter? I don't quite understand that. I would like to have a Fong tag selection, which in other words, say that you make a cube and you give it a little bit of rounding, and then you don't want the sides to be, you don't want the sides to have the rounding look to it. You want the Fong to be like super flat on the sides of the cube, but you still want the edges that you made to not be all boxy looking and hard edged. You want them to have a nice.
I think you can do this
Fong.
already.
Can you do that?
I was watching some modeling tutorials. I'll look it up after this and send it to you. But that's something I think that he covers in that Making It Look Great 11 series.
Oh, really?
Modeling is doing. You can actually have a Fong tag that only affects certain edges.
Fong break selection tool.
There's a Fong Great selection. Yeah, that's true. That'll select, but that just selects the edges that would be affected by the Fong tag. But I'm pretty sure that you can have Fong selections applied only to certain edges. And I'll look up how.
I want to know how to do that, because I didn't see anything offhand. And on a Fong, okay, if you click on the Fong tag, it would be cool if you could have a selection, like where you just drag in a selection tag to that Fong tag and say, hey, I've selected my sides. This is a selection tag for faces. And you just drag that into the Fong tag selection.
I think that exists, but I think it's also pretty clunky and could use an update. Yeah.
And the last thing on my list is rendering frames with commas. I would like to say, let's render frames 1 through 10, comma 90 through 100, comma.
Yeah. That would be cool.
Because a lot of times, if you want to set up, like, if you have certain pieces of something and you only have to re-render for like a re-render, you only have to you say, okay, I need to fix the beginning and the end, and why not be able to have that, and then you don't have to
instead of having to do a whole nother like take system or something like that and set those on a queue, blah.
Yeah, that's just a lot of work. Just let me put 1-10, comma 90-100 and be done with it.
That makes sense.
It seems like an easy thing.
Yeah,
totally.
All right.
There's your master list of improvements. Yeah.
I just need chamfering and beveling.
Yep. I just need X particles. It's something like X particles, but like for everything else.
You need
like
to get real flow. Have you gotten real flow yet?
I need to get real flow.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
It's great.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's so good.
Sweet. And it's easy, right?
It's so easy. If you know X particles, you know real flow.
That's
I
awesome.
will say that.
Yeah.
If you know X particles, you know real flow.
Cool.
Did you see on the subreddit also, somebody brought something up the other day about, I have CUDA 8 installed, and I have a GTX 1070 and I need help with all this stuff, and there's a lot of question. I think it's because Sage actually mentioned us in the comments about this, like because someone was asking, does it work, does it not work? Everybody seemed really confused, and we talked about it a little bit last week.
It doesn't
the render
work.
times were, and
right?
It doesn't work, but the standalone render, there is a version on Pascal architecture with CUDA 8, but it's like a hack. It's like hacking CUDA 7 to CUDA 8 from what I understand, and the render times are like 1 second better than the 980s at this point. So, basically the question was, can I use Octane? And I was like, just hold out. Just hold out for a year. Use 900 series, use Octane, use CUDA 7.5, and just wait it out.
Yep.
Okay, question time. Question time.
Do 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 do.
I have some of this
my
listed.
segment. My segue.
Yeah.
David, you're gonna have to help me because some of these, I think I might still have some old questions in here. My thought is if it's a question that we already answered last week, maybe Matt can just chime in his.
I did listen to it today.
Oh, today?
Yeah, I listened to the last week's podcast today.
Cool.
Oh, cool.
I listened to like the first 10 minutes in the car as soon as you posted it because it was only like 7 o'clock where I was.
Gotcha.
Okay, this first one, we'll basically just give this to David. How does one survive EJ's sour beer fetish? Because that just seems gross to me. Can I just have a nice light summer lager?
What does a sour beer taste like?
It tastes like a combination of what would I say? It tastes like kind of like cider, but more sour. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. So Sage asked this question, and unfortunately, I also share EJ's sour beer fetish. I have to admit, I love it. Yeah, I can't really help you on this one. Bourbon barrel aged beers and sour beers are my jam. I've gotten really into craft beers. One of my friends that used to work in the same company as me for like 3 years, he was a super beer geek, and I didn't get it at the time because I'd only had like I thought Red Stripe and Yingling were like the fancy beers, and I was like, yeah, those are okay.
I love Yingling though.
Yingling's good, like it's fine. But like it's just crazy, the world of craft beer and how many varieties and tastes there are. And he got me into it, and so he used to have these beer tastings, every once a month, and he would even make like MoGraph hype videos for them that were hilarious, and like it was fun. So and he'd sculpt a playlist of beers. So like he would think about what they taste like next to each other, so he was like on this extra level. And the most epic night was when his friend was in town, and they like went crazy and splurged on, like, they had these super secret rare beers that because they had hadn't seen each other in like a year, they busted them out, and we all got to reap the benefits. So like one of them, they were the most alcoholic beers in existence. So one of them's called Tactical Nuclear Penguin, the other one's called Sink the Bismarck.
What's the alcohol content?
Yeah.
Sink the Bismarck is 41% alcohol.
Oh my gosh.
For beer?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Beer. So it's actually illegal to do this in the US. So it's this quadruple freeze fractioning technique. And but it's illegal because it increases impurities like methanol and can cause massive hangovers.
Well, yeah.
So that was a pretty messed up night. And it was crazy. Like the beers, they kind of tasted like, that one tasted like Marmite or Vegemite or something. Like it was kind of nasty, but also good at the same time.
Wow.
So that was hilarious. And this one dude got so drunk, and then he got like a tonsil infection the next day or something. So those beers messed him up. But then they busted out this bottle called Utopias. Now this is the god of all beer. It costs $150 a bottle.
Oh my gosh.
So this is like a Sam Adams special thing, and it's got this like, it's this gilded, beautiful golden bottle.
How many ounces?
And
Is it made from actual gold?
I don't know. No, I don't. It's not.
It doesn't
made from
have
actual gold.
like gold in it.
I know.
Like
yeah,
Goldschlager.
you would think, yeah, Goldschlager. But it's got this little window that you can slide open and see this like painted, like depiction of Sam Adams. It's like this epic bottle.
What's it called again? I want to look it up.
It's called Utopias. And so that was actually one of the best beers I've ever tasted, though I do not think I would pay $150
That's a
for
very
that.
fancy bottle for a beer.
A very fancy bottle for a beer.
Yeah.
And so recently I've gotten more into the beer stuff. We've got this place called Sedona Tap House, and they've got at least 50 drafts at any given time, so we try different stuff.
And is that a single beer? That's one beer.
One beer. Yeah.
What's the alcohol content?
I think that one is also very high. It's at least 30.
Man.
Yeah. So crazy stuff. Recently we
so
got
one
we
beer
got
will
Growler.
get you good and drunk.
Oh yeah.
It'll
oh yeah.
get you
yeah.
drunk.
So that will get potentially several people drunk.
All right.
But yeah, and recently we got like a Growler, which is one of those 64-ounce ones. So you can take it to somewhere with beer on tap, and they'll fill the whole thing for potentially like a reduced price or whatever, which is sweet. So yeah, sour beers and bourbon barrel aged beers. Bourbon barrel aged beers are like sweeter and like molassesy and thick and dark, and I really like that. Mm-hmm. I like sweet beers, honestly. And the sour beers, I don't know. There's something, I don't know what about it. It's kind of like drinking Warheads, but not so intense.
And you said he would line them up like how they tasted best next to each other.
Yeah,
kind of like a DJ almost, like lining up the tracks.
Exactly. Here, DJ playlist. Yeah, and so when I went to
DJ
NAB, I definitely DJ EJ. Yeah, I connected with EJ over his love of beers, and we both love sour beers, and so he like got one of the big bottles, I think the 20-ounce ones or whatever, and then we were like, yeah, that was good. And then he gets another one, and I was like, yeah, that was really good. And he was like, which one of those did you like better? And I was like, the first one. He's like, let's get another one. And by the end of that, I was totally destroyed. And then that was when we were going to Ka.
It was awesome.
Which is that Cirque
Dude,
du Soleil.
you were walking in, you were like just kind of like,
dude,
hip hop, and just
drunk.
smiling. Oh my gosh, it was so funny.
I was drunk, and Ka turned into this psychedelic experience for me, where I would open my eyes and somebody would be like flying over me, and I'd be like, what? And then I'd open my eyes again, and everybody would be falling off this giant platform, and it was just like, it was kind of, I think it was even more awesome because I was like in and out of consciousness the whole time.
Jeez.
And then had to go to the airport.
And then I had to go. Yeah, then I had to sober up and go to the airport. So that was not fun.
Man.
Anyway, so that's my beer thing. But yeah, you can drink, a summer Hefeweizen or something, just a nice wheat beer with an orange, and that's delicious. And go for it. Yeah.
Wow.
Just give me a nice, cool America.
America. Oh my God. Yeah.
All right. Next question. What is your shoe size? Because why not?
Depends on what shoes you're wearing. If I'm wearing a Converse All-Star, it's like a 10.5. If anything else, it's probably like 11.
So for years, I wore a shoe size of 12. And recently I discovered that actually my feet fit perfectly in a size 11. So I think I was just like boosting my ego or something for years, like unconsciously. And so, yeah, anywhere between 11 and 12 is my answer.
It's funny you say that.
Go ahead.
Mine's exactly the same, that I was 12 and now I'm finding 11.5 is a little bit better.
Yeah.
I wore Converse from like 9th grade up until Amy and I got married. No, really, it was a really long time. And I even got my first tattoo was the Converse All-Star star, like the blue star on the same ankle as the thing. So that I was eventually going to get it all finished up. I never did.
Wow.
I just want to get it removed now.
You're going to get it covered up?
Oh, gotcha.
No. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Or removed. I've only got one tattoo I like anyway. And it's my wife's least favorite.
The TV?
The TV, yeah.
Yeah. You could get the scarification where they use a knife to scar you.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I don't know. It depends. It's so funny. I always told myself that if I was ever like a millionaire or worked for myself or something like that, I would get like full like sleeve tattoos, But now I work for myself and I really don't want sleeve tattoos.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right.
It's a fun little shoe story.
I don't know if
it's a cool story.
I don't know if Matt, if you want to briefly touch on this. This is one that we talked about last week about the game that you play the most.
Pokemon?
Is it Pokemon?
Well, right now it's Pokemon.
I want to be very best.
Right now it is, it's Pokemon Go. But I really don't play a lot of games.
Hold on, guys. I lost audio from you guys.
Oh, boy.
Can you hear us?
Marker.
I'll be the very best, like no one ever was. Dun, dun, dun. I don't know.
Them is my real quest.
To train them is my cause.
I will travel across the land, searching far and wide. This little thing that you did, when we were in. Dave, are you there?
He's frozen.
I think he is frozen. Dang it.
We'll keep this in the podcast, though. I don't know if we were in sync. Like, I think we were trying to adjust to each other's sync or whatever.
Oh, geez, yeah.
It's hard to sing
That'll
with each
be really
other.
funny.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dave, you're back.
He is moving.
Moving. Dave.
Hi, Dave. Talk.
It's obviously the problem is on his end since we're doing fine here. Yeah.
I will travel across the land.
He says, stand by.
Where you been catching all your Pokemon at?
So the downtown in Charlottesville is like a huge hub where there are Pokestops everywhere. So that's pretty cool.
Dude. Yeah. Downtown Rowlett, where I live.
Nice.
Suburb of Dallas.
Yeah.
There's like maybe 6 Pokestops, but all the kids hang out there. It's really funny.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's this one place downtown in a park where there are like 3 Pokestops you can hit all at once if you're in the triangle perfectly. So it's like this, it's back to the Holy Trinity or whatever. Yeah. So you sit in the middle of that and people will drop like lures on all of them. So it's like constant Pokemon showing up.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's the gold right there.
I have 60 Pokemon. Sweet. And I've seen 61. I'm so mad because I missed a Poliwhirl.
Oh yeah. I got that Poliwhirl.
Let's see. I just caught a Tauros the other day.
Oh yeah, I got one of those guys, yeah.
And I was driving and another Tauros showed up like literally half an hour to an hour after I had caught the previous one,
Mm-hmm.
and the CP, it said CP question mark.
What?
Yeah, like it had 2 question marks. I'm like, what?
That was a super secret Pokemon.
I know, right?
So
Do you have
apparently,
a Kabuto?
I do not.
This one?
Nope, don't got that guy. Want
I
that
got
guy.
2 of those.
Dang. So apparently
Do you
someone
have
caught
the
all of them.
Omanimite or whatever?
Don't have Ammonite. Nope.
Most of these I caught in Disneyland.
That's awesome.
Or I'll
So,
sit in bed
apparently
like a poor
someone-
person and just put a incense on myself.
Yeah, that's what I do too.
Yeah, I heard. He lost like 10 pounds doing it.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because he
Yeah.
walked like 8 miles a day.
But it's crazy that there are some Pokemon that are only region, specific in like Europe and in Asia or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bullcrap.
Like Farfetch'd or something? That's one of them,
Farfetch'd, Kangaskhan.
right? Mhm.
There's one other one. I don't know.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, you're back. Hooray. We just talked about Pokemon the whole time.
So we're still rolling then.
We are still rolling.
Oh,
yes.
Okay, so I won't have
Okay.
to edit this.
No.
Oh, perfect.
Only if you don't want to.
I mean, I think you should just leave it.
I mean,
in.
we
there
did
was some
sing the
gold
whole
in there.
Pokemon theme song.
We did. We tried to be in sync with each other.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Well, you ready for the next question then?
Well, you asked what my game was, and
Yes.
right now it's Pokemon, but like, it wasn't. I don't really play that many games, but I found like since I've been traveling so much lately, I'll either play Angry Birds or Magic the Gathering like online, the Magic
Sweet.
Duels. Man, that is such an awesome game. Dave, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good.
What
just
about?
can't see you?
Sorry, no.
Yeah, we can't see you.
my hard drive was full. I forgot to empty all these caches and
Oh
all
God.
sorts of junk like that. So
Super
yeah,
unprofessional.
I know. It's mainly I record the calls to the SSD and it filled up because I never emptied it.
I see.
All right. Oh, and the question too, like, does any of that influence your motion graphics?
No.
All right, moving on.
Hey, moving
Easy
on.
now.
Simple. Yeah.
Hey, bros, I'm loving the podcast. Here are a few questions I wanted to throw out there for your next episode. This is Kerplunk.
This is my buddy
This is your
that I meet up
yeah.
with at the MoGraph stuff in DC.
Thanks, bro.
Andrew
Thanks for
Garber.
listening, bro.
Yep.
Thanks
for listening, Andrew.
bro. How did you decide to make the leap to freelance / starting your own business? What was one mistake you made in the early days that you would do differently today?
I don't know, because we were very cautious about when we were gonna jump off, and the thing is, Dave and I, like what 3-4 years ago, we started working together. We're like, we're gonna create this company, but we're not gonna jump off and do it full time. You
Right.
know,
Right.
it wasn't until last year. Man, it's almost been a year. Can you believe that?
I can't believe it.
That's crazy. And we needed to have like a good. There's one thing. What's the guy who's on Quit? Who does Quit?
Dan Benjamin.
Dan Benjamin. He always says you gotta have at least a couple months worth of pay saved up before you're gonna jump off and do the thing.
Yeah,
and
3 to
that's-
6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we wanted to make sure between Dave and I that, you know, Dave has his own money that he would be okay with. I have my own money that I would be okay with. And within our company, we have our own money. So literally, I mean, between the two of us, we could probably live, if we got zero business for the next 6-7 months, we could probably still live fine.
Right.
You know?
Dang.
Which is
So,
hard to do.
I don't-
It's hard to
yeah.
do. I mean,
I
we
don't know how
waited
to do
years
that.
for that.
Yeah.
I have no idea how to do that.
And
Yeah.
here's the thing, especially with a partnership, you know, originally we were doing it to where we're like, okay, well, whatever you bring in, you take 90% and then the other person takes 10%, which was nice because, you know, we were getting 10% of the other person's stuff without having to do anything. But then we're like, you know, that just doesn't work, especially if we're going to want to jump off one day. And him and I, it was a tough decision because bringing in work, like you get so used to this income, this like little side income, that as soon as it's
Yeah.
gone, you kind of like panic a little bit. But him and I kind of had the deal. We're like, we want this company to happen, so let's not take out any money.
Yeah,
Like,
and that was the thing.
It all
Like,
goes to the business, and that was a tough transition right there.
It wasn't
But-
just about like what we brought in, like clients we brought in. It was who worked on what. It's like if we both worked on a project that I brought in, we would both get the same amount of money.
Yeah, yeah.
50-50. But if I brought in a project from a client and I worked on it by myself, Matt would still get 10% of it, and vice versa.
Yeah.
But when you want to get that money in the bank, you just got to realize it doesn't matter how much money you make, you're still getting the same size paycheck every 2 weeks, no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, so if it's a good thing if you get a whole bunch of big projects, because that money just builds up in the bank and it's a savings account for you. It's guaranteeing your payroll.
And that's all we're doing right now. You know,
there's
slowly
a whole
building up, and we're spending a little bit because we've got money for plugins and the new R18 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice being able to buy a plugin, like buy RealFlow as soon as we want it.
Yeah, we can say,
Totally.
oh, you want to buy that? Oh, yeah, cool. You know, it doesn't come
we
out
used
of our
it on
paycheck.
one project. It kind of paid for itself. You know, so
But there's that whole Dan Benjamin thing. It's a whole entire podcast that is about
quitting your job.
quitting your job and starting your own thing. It's called Quit.
It's really good, and he's a good motivator, you know. And so you'll want to do it, but really you have to have a good clientele base. You kind of have to have some sort of a business plan of how you're going to go about getting new clients and stuff like that. And you also have to have a good like base amount that you just kind of hold on to, you know.
And I used to be a contractor way back in the day, but the only difference was that I had like one big main thing that was almost like a full-time job, and so it wasn't exactly the same situation.
Yeah, that was when you were doing the concert touring, right?
Yeah, I didn't have to have like all these other side gigs and wonder where things are coming. I mean, it was 30, 40 weeks out of the year I was going to be doing this other contract gig, you know. But that is back then, not on the concert stuff, but on other things. That is when I really made all my mistakes, if that makes sense. You know, I messed things up as far as contracts. I messed things up as far as cash flow. You know, I did some things because I just didn't know what I was doing. I messed things up with taxes big time. Oh my gosh, that's the one thing I would do differently is go back to 2004, 2005 when I didn't save correctly. I didn't write things off correctly when I could have written them off, to the point where once I realized that I could have not paid all that money to the government, I had two choices. I could either pay it, or I could file what do you call it?
An amendment.
An amendment, or I guess it's an amendment. But then like that's when the red flags go up and they come down on you and really scrutinize everything. And I'm like, rather than face that possibility, I'm just gonna pay it off and count my losses. And
Shoot, that reminds me, I need to pay my taxes.
And $35,000 later, here I am. I have only $2,000 left to pay them off.
Yeah.
So and it's because I was first paying $500 increments per month and then down to $100. And it's it's not because I didn't pay my taxes. It's just because I didn't do it right. And I was like, man, on paper I did everything right. It's just I don't have the money to pay this. And so it's like, figure that out way ahead of time. Figure out how you're going to do it. How you're either going to save or write it off.
Was a big thing, and when I was young and stupid, when I was just starting out, I was doing freelance for a company. It was a full-time job, but it was counted as freelance money. And I never got my social security number or anything like that. I thought it was all going to be under the table. Somehow they found it. And so they ended up reporting it. I ended up having to pay a couple $1,000s to the government. And the one thing that sucked about that was I did all the work in Dallas and then went to another job, got fired from that job, and then bad things happened. And I ended up moving to Portland, maybe like 3 or 4 months after I left the previous job. And because Oregon, does state taxes and Texas doesn't. Oregon saw this income that came in later and said, oh, you must have done that while you lived in Oregon. So we want $700 in taxes for us too. So I had to pay Oregon state taxes on money that I made in Texas, which sucked. Because I couldn't prove it, because I'm not going to call up the old employer who like I really screwed over and say, hey, yeah, taxes is a big thing.
Does Virginia have state tax?
Yeah, it does.
It does.
And you got to move to Texas, bro.
So glad Texas
Gotta move to
doesn't.
Texas.
Oh my gosh.
No state tax, no state income tax, but man, the what is it? The homeowners tax or whatever. Property tax are ridiculous.
Property taxes are up there.
Yeah.
That's why the cost of, buying a house is so low here.
Now on your freelance stuff, David, like have you always basically been a freelancer from the start?
No, I worked for this company, Filament Productions, for 3 years. That's where I did the touring visuals for Dave Matthews Band. That's where I got my start, and kind of it was my training ground, and we got to kind of direct that content ourselves, which was sweet. And the reason that I switched was basically I kind of outgrew it. They weren't having as many creative jobs for me to do, and they had hard times. They lost a couple of their big clients. And then they had to lay off 2 of my best friends. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I was like...
That's tough. Dave's had that happen.
Yeah.
That person was me.
Yeah, totally. So, it just wasn't as fun of a place once that had kind of poisoned the atmosphere to me. Like, they got really management heavy, but they did not know how to sell creative work and ever make money on creative work. So, like, it was always an afterthought. We would do a festival... like a music festival, like Faster Horses or Watershed or one of these. And I would make like CG horses breathing fire, and I would try to make it as cool as possible. And I'd have them galloping down the bridge at full speed. And, I put tons of work into it, but ultimately it never mattered what we made because they had locked the money beforehand. So it's like I could put tons of effort into it, but it wasn't as if it was making the company any more money. Yep. It was just, it was an afterthought.
That's exactly where I was at in my old job. Like exactly the same. A lot of spec work stuff, hoping you're going to get the gig. And then,
there were so many, like this one, if we do this one, we're going to, obviously we're going to get the next one. And then, I hate that.
Always. And then not being able to go out and sell either. And it's not like you have to go out and sell. You need somebody in a place like that with a lot of people to go out and sell for you. You need a dedicated salesperson.
We did not have a person doing that. Yeah. And towards the end, they were so desperate, like they wanted us to sell, and like that just was not going to happen. I started to bring clients to them to some extent, but at some point I was just like, well, if I've got clients that are really interested in me and my work,
exactly,
why wouldn't I just go freelance?
Yeah, that's to a T what happened with me, man. It was the same thing. It's like, oh, well, we've always been word of mouth. It's like, well, yeah, when you were like super popular and making lots of money, you were, but now it's slowing down, and oh no, we don't need a dedicated person. And then the same thing, they say, oh, well, you guys could help sell. We're not saying you need to be a salesperson. Just try and sell yourself. And then you try and bring stuff in.
I'm not saying you need to be a salesperson, but here's a list of phone numbers that if you could just call them. I had that happen to me once. It's like, they're like, here's a whole list of all our old clients. I need you to email at least 10 of them by the end of the day. And I'm like, I'm not a salesperson. Why are you asking me to do this? I'm an editor. I sit here and I edit videos with stupid people all day,
It was a desperation move. Yep.
And the problem with bringing people in, like your own clients in or new clients that you somehow got or whatever it is to a place like that, there's like 3 different scenarios. Number 1 would be the best scenario where they give you a commission. Well, that's not going to happen.
They wouldn't do that for me.
That's not going to happen.
They wouldn't do that.
Most people aren't. And the other thing is that,
there was no incentive.
Right.
Exactly, yeah.
You're going to have it go one of 2 ways, which is number 1, you're going to bring it to them, and being a bigger company, they're going to say, well, this is what it would cost to do that. And your client, who is probably looking for a contractor at contractor prices, is going to say, that's way too much money.
Exactly.
And or the other way around is going to happen where you're going to look at it and say, wow, if they're going to spend all that money with this company and I'm bringing in that client, why can't I just do that by myself?
Totally. I was like, wow, that's money I could be making because I'm doing this whole job myself. And I'm paying for you management people, your salaries, because you're not actually doing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would...
I mean, that's how it felt. Yeah.
What would you say from the early days? What's something you'd do different?
Well, okay, so my first freelance jobs were always moonlighting. I was always doing them on the side while I was at that production company, which is not in and of itself a problem. But the first, couple jobs I got, I totally mishandled. I didn't know at all what I was doing. And there was one where I just didn't schedule it properly. Like my girlfriend, who's now my fiance, was coming in to visit. And, it was like one of my first Cinema 4D projects with like space and like planets and stuff, and I thought it was just so cool, but it wasn't what he wanted, and he wanted me to kind of rework the whole thing. And I had already worked the number of hours that we had initially agreed approximately that I would work or whatever, but I hadn't really made a contract. And he wanted a bunch of changes, and it was going to ruin my weekend with my girlfriend. And so I literally quit. I was like, I'm done.
Well, and the problem with that too is then you're working a full-time job, and you're trying not to tell your client, hey, look, some clients know and some don't.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of his fault for hiring some dumbass kid or whatever. Like I clearly did not know what I was doing yet, and so he was taking a risk in me, but also I just didn't treat him very well. I mean, I found him incredibly annoying, which didn't help. Like, he tried to describe all the animation to me with sound effects.
Oh my gosh, I hate people like that.
I
need it to be like, and then,
yeah. So
I had a client that I was working with at a job, and basically at the job that I was working at, mom and pop off the street could come in and say, I need this video edited. And then they'd sit down with an editor and we would edit with them. It's basically the Kinkos of, video editing.
Right.
And so I had this one client, her big fame was, or claim to fame that she, had a bunch of kids, married a rich guy and used to be a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. And so everything she did, she would just explain, and okay, now I wanted to then I'm like, and then she'd also say, well, what I really need here is I need someone going like, yeah, well, did you shoot that? I don't think so, but let's just look. And then we'd look through 4 hours of tape for someone going, yeah, and it wouldn't be there. And or I'd say, well, did you shoot that? And I'd know her entire footage backwards and forward because we already watched it 2 or 3 times. And then we'd have to watch it again. Because she doesn't remember.
It sounds infuriating.
Awful.
When you have, and you all probably have a photographic memory as well, when you're the type of person who can visualize stuff or remember stuff, and you've gone through footage, especially if you shot the footage. I don't know about you, but when I shoot the footage, I come back and I know exactly what I'm going to use.
You know what's there.
Yeah, me too.
And I can see it in my head.
I edit it while I'm shooting.
While you're shooting it. And so you come back and somebody's like, oh, well, let's see if we have this. I'm like, no, we don't have that. Well, let's just look through all of it. I'm like, no, I know we didn't shoot that. Yeah, but let's just see. And then sit there and not scroll through it. Not scroll through it fast because they can't process it fast enough.
Right.
Like I can scroll through a 20-minute piece of footage like really fast and see if there's something I need. Those people that have to sit there and watch it in real time where you're like, oh my God.
It drives me crazy.
Totally. Yeah, I had a lot of those clients. But I will say the one thing about that job, a lot of people, they'd come in and because we charged, it was like $100 an hour back then, to edit digital, do digital editing. That was a lot. That's a lot of money for some, kid off the street to be, or some teacher or mom, to pay for someone to do. So they didn't like spending a lot of money. So I got real fast, real quick, because I was always trying to save people money. And it became a contest between all the people there who could finish fastest. Sounds weird.
All right. Well, we got...
Wait, real quick. So So like another big mistake I would make in the early days was like the exact opposite of what I described. Like getting fed up and quitting was one, but then getting totally like steamrollered and like screwed over was definitely another. Like there was one job where I actually still think it looks good. Like it was a good, project, but I worked, I think 200 hours in like maybe 2 weeks.
Gosh.
And I was still at my full-time job. So like I was like not putting in hours at my full-time job. I was ignoring them. And then I was like, this guy was like, hey man, I knew you're in a full-time job, but I thought we agreed from the outset that you were going to pull a bunch of all-nighters. And I like was so sleep deprived that I was just like going insane. And like at one point I like started sending him angry emails, like saying like what my hourly rate had been reduced to because I had been working so much, but I did the calculations wrong because I was so sleep deprived. So I just looked like a raving lunatic. It was just like so mishandled on my part. But yeah, like either I would like over stand up for myself and like quit, or I would just completely not stand up for myself at all and I wouldn't set any boundaries, kind of thing. And yeah.
At what point do you think like you get old enough to where like you're just then responsible? You become responsible.
Yeah.
Because man, back in the day, I was just so irresponsible when it came to all this stuff.
That's the thing, man. I feel like
totally.
you may get this like advice from people, but like until you're in the position, you're still gonna make the mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
I think
there's
all
something
three of
about
us
that.
dealt with taxes at one
experience.
point.
Yeah.
You kind of like you have to go through it. It's like your it's like your initiation into the program. And yeah, you can hear about it till you're blue in the face, but until you get down into the trenches, it's like everybody goes through that for some reason.
Mm-hmm. I mean, everybody's path is different, but I would say like my opinion is that, working with a company in that structured environment, at least at first, is beneficial because you get steady income, you can make a lot of mistakes, you can learn on the job. Jumping right into freelance, I think, would have been very intimidating, and you can't count on, the jobs to roll in. You just don't have that security, and
Right.
I mean, I think it's much easier to transition from a company to freelance.
And you're gonna do it on the side. It's gonna be a struggle. It's going to be a total struggle for a while, and that you can do that when you're younger.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
But just plan to stop doing that at some point. You're either going to choose to be
stressful.
Don't get a credit
guy
card
or not. Oh, don't get
take
a
out a
credit card.
personal loan.
Don't get a credit card.
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
Just stay out of debt altogether.
I was convinced for the longest time that I needed to buy a red camera. Like I needed one. And like I think if I had like 15 grand to drop on it, I think I would have. And that would have been so dumb.
How much gear I have that's obsolete sitting in a closet.
Oh yeah.
Super VHS player.
That's actually getting its use.
Did you hear that
Sony
the
DVD deck
very
I've never
last
used.
VHS player ever was made this month?
Yeah.
Cool.
That's sad. So sad.
Yeah.
All right. The second part of the question is: have you ever had a concept or creative brief that you struggled to find a good solution for, and how did you get through it? Let's go to that one first.
Yeah, all the time. I can't think of any one particular time, but it's mostly I find when I've got like managers or creative directors who just can't explain themselves correctly, who are really bad, or they try to use a really artistic way of saying something. Like
Or
for the
sound
longest
effects.
time, for the longest time, I hated the term organic. Just make it look more organic.
Organic.
Because it's never something that someone can explain what it looks like.
No, it's not tangible. Yeah, it's the same thing as pop.
Oh yeah, if you could just if you could just make it pop with more organics,
More organics.
that would be great.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what is organic? What does that mean? I don't know. Now I know what it means, but can I explain it?
Yeah.
No. It means random effector. That's what it means to me.
Right.
What's the term? Something through obscurity. What's the?
I don't know.
The John Hickman.
Oh gosh.
What am I talking about?
No. Oh, you're talking about
Sort
no.
of.
Oh, I hated this. It was there's
Unity?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, no, it's not unity. It's
What's the
man.
phrase?
Security through
No,
obscurity.
it's
I don't
like
know.
you've got a group of things together, so they're like one group, and then something with variation. Oh gosh.
I'm gonna have to try and Google it.
Put it in the show notes.
Repetition
Yeah.
with variation is what he would say. It's like, so you'd repeat this, and you'd get it all grouped together. So that's one group. But then you'd have one that's like just slightly variation. So it's repetition with variation. And he would use it. It's like the one design principle he knew, and he would want to use it everywhere. And he'd say it all the time. And it's just like, shut
I
up.
thought there was also like unity through
Unity.
obscurity or something
I
like
don't know.
that.
Learn your design principles.
Yeah.
Learn more than one
Yeah.
design principle.
Yeah.
Totally.
Anyway.
Concept. So any other thing on concepts
Oh,
you
yeah.
had to get through?
I'll answer something. So like, I mean, it's kind of like what Dave says. Sorry, not Dave. I'm getting you guys confused. Matt, this is your catchphrase at the
I'm
end
the
of the
one with
podcast.
the crazy
like,
hair. Remember? Okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you guys both have crazy hair
true.
right now, kind of. But Matt, like, what's that thing you say at the end of the podcast? Something about
I love it.
scaring you. Right.
I don't
Yeah,
think we've ever talked about it in the show, but we have a joke
No.
about that.
We do.
There is a joke about that. Yeah, I know the joke. Man, it gets
Man,
me.
it gets me
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway, so yeah, like diving into the unknown. That's the kind of subject, right?
Yeah.
Something you've never done before. So I definitely find that exciting too. That first Dave Matthews Band music video that we did, we super went out on a limb. Like, I had never done really any 3D tracking before. I had done some green screen, and we were like, it was also my friends who put trust in me. They were like, I think you can do this. And my director buddy, he was like, let's, find a warehouse. We're going to build a giant green screen wall. I'm going to stick tracking markers all over the thing. We're going to build props that are going to, Dave's going to stand on this rooftop. The song's called Rooftop. So, but everything's going to be CG. The city's CG, we're going to do camera moves on the dolly, and you're going to track all that, and it was just like, 3 or 4 minutes straight of almost visual effects and shots. And it's like this massive undertaking, and I was trying to model myself after someone like, who's my hero? That guy
hero
that
again?
we talk about, who's doing Star Wars, the guy doing Star
Andrew
Wars.
Kramer?
Andrew Kramer?
No, guy who did Monster.
Oh,
Monsters.
that's
Starts with a G.
Gareth
Edwards.
Edwards. I love him.
So yeah, Gareth Edwards, like watching him do his stuff in his Excel spreadsheets and like breaking down a really, really tough problem into small parts and like taking it one shot at a time and doing that marathon. I really like doing that marathon. I've done several projects where I'm like, again, doing the one man band, like one thing at a time, and eventually you're just done, and it's really rewarding. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but like kind of jumping off the cliff, is definitely one of those creative hurdles. What was the question again?
You look tired.
Have you ever had a concept
a
that
little
you
bit.
struggled
And you
with?
still got to work after this.
But
I do. I have to work after this.
how did you get through
yeah,
it?
so
I guess
that's-
is the main thing.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, a lot of the time it is that grind, and trying to somewhat delegate tasks. Like, I had another friend that was helping me with a lot of the shots, but really just grinding is often how I get through it. So that wasn't necessarily one where it was like I needed, it was half grind and half finding some creative solutions. So like that was the first project where I found Octane that sped up everything. That was one of the first projects where I was also using Element 3D. So like right out of the gate, I was like, I'm going to be all GPU all the time, and that's going to make this stuff go faster, and then after a while we boiled the keying down to kind of a science, and the 3D tracking, I got really good at that, boiled that down to a science, and it was doing those same tasks over and over again. I got a lot faster by the end of it. and got through it. Certain other projects, I feel more proud of the weird creative solutions that I came up with. Like, I think I mentioned before to you guys, like, there's this one project where a client wanted to see a tree growing. And so I was using Speed Tree, and this was before Speed Tree could animate tree growth. And so I treated it like a stop motion project and exported like 50 trees at different stages of growth and flipped them out, one on each frame,
cool.
To make the tree grow. So like stuff like that, at some point you really have to use brute force and like just come up with hacky solutions. But that can also be the most fun, the most, you feel like more accomplished after you've come up with some crazy solution like that,
Right.
That's what I got.
All right. Well, we have like 15 minutes tops left here, so I'm gonna skip us around.
All
I
right.
noticed that we have some more duplicates here.
Keep in mind, we also spent 5 minutes singing
R18.
the Pokemon theme song, and
Oh, right. That's
Oh,
it.
well,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna edit it.
while you were gone.
I don't edit
gosh.
anything.
I see.
I'll
Yeah.
listen and I will decide.
Oh, Dave, have you seen the teaser for the new Star Trek TV show?
I haven't.
Whoa.
I haven't.
You are missing out. Star Trek Discovery. It's on CBS.
Are you being facetious?
No, I'm serious.
Really? Does it look good?
I mean, all it is a picture of the ship, and it looks really triangular.
I want
it
something else
almost looks
in
like
the next
a.
generation.
Yeah, you and me both.
Yeah.
The ship looks super triangular. It almost looks like a Klingon bird of prey or something. There you go.
Oh wait, maybe I
Cool.
did see this. Hold on, let me look. Because I saw something the other day, and I thought it was something from the movie.
derail us again.
I thought it was something from the
did
movie.
it.
That I have seen this. Okay, I didn't realize this is the TV show. I thought this was
Yeah,
from
it's
the
a
movie.
TV show. Nah,
'Cause I
are
was
we gonna
looking
go see
at
the movie
this-
together?
I know that's our tradition. We need to.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, maybe. Hey, our wives don't care. Let's just go see it during the day.
Yeah, totally.
Totally. Let's go do that tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
What
I
are
don't
you
have
guys gonna
anything
see?
going on
Why
tomorrow.
not? I got a couple
Okay.
things in the morning, but hey, let's go see a movie tomorrow.
Okay, cool.
Because we can. Because our boss will let us do it, right?
Yeah. David, can we do that? All
Yes.
right.
Go see the new Star Trek. Is that what you guys were
Yeah.
saying?
Because
Yes.
I did see
Yeah,
what you
yeah.
sent me. And I remember thinking, I wonder if that's Octane.
I think someone said something along the lines of it being Octane.
Because I was looking at it like, I would like to do something like that. I bet I could create something like that with time and money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, skipping around because we're gonna go long. That's what she said.
Con Man, the TV show with
Oh my god.
no, they're using Octane. Like
Oh, really?
I see Otoy retweeting stuff all the time, like the Con Men show with Nathan Fillion and what's his
sweet.
name? Wash.
Oh yeah, that guy. I forget his name.
He's awesome.
So basically, the crew of Firefly.
Yeah, well, it's these two guys who go to all these conventions and stuff like that. Anyway, they had a very successful Kickstarter, but I see them tweeting all the time that they're using Octane.
That's
cool.
cool.
And able to see all this stuff like immediately. It's nice.
His name is Alan Tudyk.
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 Yeah,
Tudyk.
here in Dallas.
Oh
I've
sweet.
had a few friends run into him.
I love
at
that guy.
times. He's
Cool.
in so much stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right, questions. This is a good one. What is an often overlooked skill that you think every motionographer should work to improve? And I can tell you right off the bat, my answer to that, number one, is camera moves. Number one thing I see, someone creates a beautiful project and their camera moves look like butthole. Just
I completely agree with
awful.
that.
Just awful
Yeah.
keyframing.
It's weird. People will be like good at modeling and rendering, and then their camera moves will be horrendous.
that kind of move.
I would say my thing I would say communication. That's not really like a computer skill or anything, but like really work on like being able to communicate your points across really well. I don't know. That's
I
me.
can see that.
Because I'm
I
don't
would
know, I'm the
say,
business guy. You know me.
yeah, totally. So businessy. You're such a, what's the word? Schmoozer.
I am a
You're a
schmoozer.
schmoozer. Yeah.
Amy calls it schmoozy Matt. She hates
That's
schmoozy
awesome.
Matt.
Oh,
Whenever we go out somewhere, and
Put
like,
that schmoozy
and
Matt away.
like, you know, I'll be. She knows instantly when I turn it on. She's like, "Oh, you were so schmoozy,
Yeah.
That's
Matt."
funny.
Get out of here.
I'd say
schmoozy Matt.
lighting too, by the way. I'd add to that is like people who don't understand lights.
Yeah.
Let's just put lights everywhere because we don't know how to light
Yeah.
the scene
Right.
correctly.
That's a lighting. Yeah, light is what makes an image beautiful. That's why we love cinematography. And I think that can go so far. Like, so much of the image is just the lights.
You got to
yeah.
know theory. You got to know like actual like camera theory
Yeah.
and all that other
Yes.
stuff, and about ISO and
Yeah.
shutter speed and
Learn to be a cinematographer. Yeah, I would say pick up a camera and start shooting if you haven't before. I would say learn. These are things I want to learn is storyboarding and drawing, because with drawing you can, you know, set out your composition beforehand really fast. You know, I've seen so many great artists just like, you know, draw what they want to see, like super basic sketch, and then turn that into a 3D scene. It's going to look so much more interesting, like the perspective and the layout of the scene, you know, designing just on paper, just like traditional skills, like, you know, modeling, I really want to get good at, you know, and just exploring other art mediums. Yeah.
and camera move. Like your camera
Try-
doesn't have to be like 90 degrees straight on everything. I mean, even think about, you know, going Dutch more often. That's the one thing. Anytime I'm struggling with something, I'm like, that's not quite where I want it. You know what? Make the camera, make the lens a little wider and add a little Dutch to it. That always helps.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, you know that I keep harping on this one short film, but the Leviathan one has one of my favorite camera moves I've ever seen, and it just looks so well planned, because like you're floating through this like dingy, you know, like spaceship environment, and then like the camera comes around. I don't know, I can't even describe it. It's just so cool. Just go watch that video. But like it's like you fly through the door and you're watching some people, and then the camera drops down and you're following something else, and like the actions just feel planned so nicely. And then like it's all like, for a while it's this one take where you're like falling away from the ship, and then at some point you come up to this one guy and do a pivot around him, and like if you watch that camera move, it's just like so much went into planning that, and like yeah, it just sells everything.
Block it all,
Just,
like keyframe it all. Even before you start building stuff, start on your camera move. Don't let the camera move be an afterthought. You know, like that camera move, you should start kind of trying to figure that out in your blocking, doing rough drafts and wireframes, you know, at the very beginning. Question
I
for
completely agree with
Totes.
everything that you guys just said.
Sweet.
question for Just David.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
How did
This is the Matthias.
how
one,
did
isn't it?
Maxon approach you for NAB? And does Matthias just call you up and be like, "Hey, bro, you're pretty cool. Come chill"?
It was basically like that. I went to a Cinema 4D roadshow that came through DC. So, you know, that was just like a proactive decision on my part to drive. You know, it's not so far. It's like a couple hours. And, you know, hung out. And afterwards, I talked to Matthias briefly. I started babbling about liking to do, you know, one-man band stuff and try to make high-end CG for just a single person. And he was like, "Oh, cool." And then I showed him my reel randomly, which I had on my cell phone. I think it's good, you know, to
I agree.
download videos and put them on your on your
always.
phone, just to be able to show it to
And
people
you could show
immediately. And then,
someone and say, "Look, you made Star Wars, and I made Harry
Oh,
Potter
yeah.
Star Wars."
Yes, Andrew Kramer.
I went to a function at
You made
Christmas
Star
for the
Wars.
Dallas Producers Association, and I'm, you know, in like, I don't, was I off with was I Nexus full time? Yeah, I was at that point.
Yeah, you were.
I had been with all the other companies I had worked for in the DPA. This is the first time I was like Nexus, you know, our company, and I brought an iPad with me with my demo on it. And so I would be talking to people, and, you know, we're one of the very few big motion graphics companies in Dallas, honestly. You know, there are little shops, and there's people who say they do Cinema 4D, but there's not a lot of people that are doing this. There's some big post houses, and there are very few small houses like us doing this. So, like, everybody else is like, yeah, I'm a DP, and you don't know what their stuff looks like. You just talk to them and you get a card. You don't know if they're any good. anything right on the spot. And sometimes, something like that with so many people, like hundreds of people, you want to be like, hey, I want to see what this person's work looks like. And they don't have anything, and you're like, should I be talking to this? I mean, I don't want to sound, I don't want to sound like arrogant about it, but when you have like only maybe an hour to converse with all these people, you want to be like, is this like a college grad who doesn't have anything that I'm talking to, or is he legit? And so I would show my iPad to people and just be like, hey, check this out, and they're like, whoa, and I would like get interest from doing that.
Totally. I mean, yeah, I totally understand that if you're pressed for time, wanting to find the person in the room who knows the most and like collaborate with them and communicate and all that. But if I had more time, I certainly love to talk to everybody, just because like it's so much fun talking, just geeking out or whatever. But yeah, I do, from a business standpoint or trying to get new connections and potentially new jobs or whatever, and get introduced to other people in the industry. It is kind of a skill to like read the room and figure out who knows their shit basically, and then talk to them. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So that was pretty much it with Matthias, and the rest is history, huh?
Yeah, I mean, he liked my reel enough to, tell me to send him an email, and then I did, and he was like, really, just like, this is super cool. I think you have way more than enough content to do a presentation. And so yeah, it kind of just happened like that. They do a kind of a rehearsal presentation online with him, about a month or so beforehand. And then, yeah. And I was just like, when he asked me if I wanted to present, I was like, really? Because the people you have every year are freaking amazing. Yeah. And I felt like so like, like every year I watch with my mouth like wide open, and I'm just like, my eyeballs, are popping because like, yeah, those people are so good. And even, yeah, I mean, I just, yeah. So I was just like, also, I totally suck at presenting, which is true.
No, you did great.
Yeah, you did great.
Oh, thanks.
And man, you've been getting practice, we'll tell you that.
That's true. I've been getting more practice. I think I'm getting less nervous, which is good. I definitely have it's one of my big fears is presenting. For sure, but I think I'm somewhat overcoming that, which is cool. Yeah.
Word.
My brain would I don't know if I told you guys this story, but in grad school, I had to do presentations, and there was one time where I was like presenting to like 25 professors or whatever, and my brain locked up so hard that I froze and stopped speaking for like a minute, and then just like walked out and got a drink. I was like, I need to go. I got like water, and then I came back and finished, which is good, but it was so traumatizing, and I think I just like forgot, blanked it out of my memory.
Well, what they say is that like people's biggest fears, like a lot of people, like the biggest fear isn't dying, it's public speaking. And that's
mine's dying.
Yeah. And
I'd public speak all day. Just don't assassinate me.
I think having to do, well, I mean, way back in the day, doing like 10, 11, 12 years ago, doing the podcast that I did, doing this podcast, doing stuff in front of the camera, even though I hate listening to myself, I hate seeing myself on camera, doing tutorials, it's repetition, it's practice. You just get used to it. If you want to do it, you just got to go out there and do it. And eventually it's just like totally normal.
Yeah, it's a skill that you learn just like anything else.
Yeah, and even with the podcast and like doing stuff on YouTube, there are numbers, but I don't see real people behind those numbers. So it doesn't make me nervous at all. I don't think those are real people. I just think they're all fake.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's just a YouTube.
I'm just kidding. I love every one of you fake people.
Yeah, all you fake people are so nice.
I love every one of you numbers.
Yeah.
Every one of you.
But if you saw all those people as an audience, that would potentially be terrifying. No, not for you.
I played music for so long,
Cool.
I played in a band for so long and played in front of so many. I didn't play a lot of large places, but man, you get me up on a microphone, while playing music and stuff. I make a complete idiot of myself, and I'm just happy doing it.
Now that I can do. So like I can go and dance in front of an audience, no sweat. I can like dance my ass off and be a goofy mofo for hours, and I've done that before on stage, in front of like probably 1,000 people, and that didn't bother me at all. But the second you have me speak and I have to think in front of people, I panic.
Yeah.
I straight up panic.
Not me.
You know, it's just different skills or something like, I don't know.
I don't know. Since I was 17, I always wanted to be a stand-up comic, you know?
Sweet.
So I'd practice like these really awful stand-up comedy routines. No.
What's the deal with MoGraph effectors?
Yeah, they were very focused in one, thing. Anyway.
Okay, question for Matt.
Oh my gosh, are we not done yet?
This is our last question,
No.
and then we're hitting the emails, which are short.
Okay.
Question for Matt, because we already addressed this last week. 100 duck-sized horses or horse-sized
We've already
duck?
talked about this. I'm
Yes,
the only
we
person
did.
who would say one horse-sized duck.
I think so.
Yeah, you are.
I think so.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, well, then we'll just
Because
keep
I
going.
feel
wrong
like
with you?
I feel like I could take down one duck pretty easily. Of course, those horses. You're right about kicking horses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but David's also right about the hive mind concept.
Yeah, swarming
But
behaviors.
we don't know. That's not one of the variables.
We don't know.
If you
It's a maybe.
If you could insert your body into a hive mind with a bunch of people, would you do it?
Like in that episode of Rick and Morty.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't
Like,
seen that.
combining,
like the
combining their
Borg.
brains,
Like the Borg.
like combining your
Like
brains.
if you could, if you say this, if you could combine your brain with your wife, would you?
No,
Your
no,
wife.
no. I would steal. So I would steal other people's brains and incorporate their knowledge.
Like
I
Highlander?
would take Beeple's brain and just stick it in there and like know all the stuff he knows.
or
There can
But
be
I would
only
still
one.
have all of my own personality, right? So I would want to keep my personality in that because, like, obviously we're Americans and we love to be individuals, I guess. And it's terrifying to lose that sense of self, and be like, would I be all these people at once? That sounds scary, but no, I just want the Matrix where I can insta learn, something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody else would be able to do it. I would be super.
See,
powerful.
I'm just trying to live long enough to where they can insert my consciousness into a robot body. That's all I care about.
Yeah, me too.
And I think
too.
that's what the future is going to be. Is
I've thought about
like,
that,
I mean,
too.
think about that when like time doesn't
I wanna be a
exist,
crab.
basically, because you're just a robot. Who cares about like a 20-year journey to Mars or whatever?
Right.
Yeah.
right.
Because you're a robot. You don't care about time. Time
There's
doesn't
only-
matter. It's not like you're growing old.
There's one caveat with that. I think about this a lot. And the thing
This is
is,
the best
it's not
conversation ever.
that it's not about transferring your brain into technology, like into a computer, because that's no longer you, and you die. That consciousness moves on, but it's not the you that's in your head right now. The only way it will work
Right.
is if you can implement the storage into your existing brain and it becomes one, and then at some point the organic part of it goes away, so you're still technically the same person.
A
It
continuous
doesn't
experience
stop.
or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's like transport. If transport worked, you're
Transplant.
you're killing
Transport.
one person and reassembling them over there, and you disappear, and that person continues. You're actually
I
gone.
know. That's how you got the duplicate.
I don't know.
Commander Riker,
right.
the evil Riker, right?
Was he evil Riker? I guess he
don't know.
was evil Riker. It was
Only
just
way
other
to tell
Riker.
if
I mean-
someone's evil or not is if they have a goatee, according
Right.
to Community. But
or Futurama.
Riker has a beard, so what are you gonna do?
You can't tell. It's underneath. We have reached
the
Yeah.
breaking point.
All right.
I think that, sorry, this is random, that if there were a brain that basically mimicked the structure of my brain exactly, but it were all computing parts, and like, that it would then have all of the same experiences and like would essentially be me. Like if we were able to perfectly recreate that structure of our brain, because I believe that everything about ourselves is just constrained to the structure of our brains. So, but then at the same time, there would then be two me's. So it's still like,
Well, yeah, you got to kill
my
one
consciousness would still,
That's
right.
what I'm
No,
saying.
like, I'm
you have to
talking
be
about,
able
like,
to like merge
your
them
body
first.
is giving up.
Right.
Your body is. I wrote an entire like 90-minute script like movie script about this, about
Sweet,
someone
let's
dying
do
and
it.
transferring their consciousness into some other world or whatever. Like as soon as you die, your consciousness gets put into a robot. So there's no two of you, there's just one.
Which
I don't know.
also is
wondered.
another episode of Star Trek Next Generation.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Which one?
It's the one.
It's not the Inner Light. The Inner Light is so good.
No, that's the best ever. But the
it is the best ever.
yeah, the little flute.
Oh my gosh.
So
that's the first thing I learned how to play on the flute.
Oh really?
Yeah.
It's the episode where like that happened. Like somebody died and they were able to transfer the consciousness to a computer, and Data was like helping out with it or something. I forget the episode. But let's move on to email.
All right. Sorry.
All right.
I call dibs on the crab robot body. I just want to be a crab.
All right.
I don't know
I
why.
think my favorite episodes are ones when
my
David is
gosh.
on.
All right.
All right, go ahead.
Just to briefly talk about, I got an email from Real Flow that says Octane guys have released a patch for their thing. Duh. Thanks for telling me.
That's funny.
And then if you heard that story, you know what I'm talking about. And then they say though that they fixed some other problems related to the caching and all of that stuff that you sent them the video of and all of that stuff. So maybe better. We need to look and check out the update.
Cool.
Also, an email that we had to skip last week, but I really wanted to come back to is one of our very few female listeners, Sarah. She sent an email.
What up, Sarah?
What up?
Woohoo.
Says, hope you're doing well. Remember the female listener from the nightly show? I'm reaching out because I've convinced our line producer to spring for new video cards in Octane. The only problem is that the Mac video cards has been sold out of 980 Ti's for weeks. And so the IT guys are coming back and saying, well, we can't do it because the product's out of stock. Are there any other places you found that have the pre-flashed in video cards for Mac? Would love to not have to wait on that. And
You don't need to buy pre-flashed.
Exactly. I said you totally don't need to do that. Like all you got to do is the only thing that's going to do for you is you're going to spend $300 to flash it so that you get an Apple logo when you boot up. That's it. Because otherwise, if you just install the drivers from the get-go before you put in the cards and power them up, you won't see a logo, but there it is. So, I asked if we could bring that up on the show because, again, it's like most of these 900 series, you don't need to flash. I think now the Titans you probably have to flash. There's a place up in Canada that does it or something, but it's a lot of money. You're already buying an expensive video card and then hundreds of dollars on top of that. Why even worry about that? So, and she says, thanks so much. Always looking forward to the next broadcast.
Thank you for listening, Sarah. You're my favorite female listener besides my wife.
Besides your wife. Pixelasm.
Pixelasm?
We were talking
my
about
God.
something a couple weeks ago with the After Effects cache, and he says in the end it turns out that cache frames from AE are also. Oh no, this is a different thing. Good Lord. Okay, so we were told
That's
by
the end of email.
we were told by Adobe that they upgraded or sped up AE through various updates, better GPU support and cache. I upgraded right away. Unfortunately, I had problems when rendering the comp because, this is what this is about. The fact that now with AE, you can render to Adobe Media Encoder, which is really cool because you can cache stuff. And I guess there were problems where cached frames were like not they were not refreshing. And so if you would send the render to Adobe Media Encoder, then it would be like having errors or something like that. So he says, in the end, it turned out that cache frames from AE are also used from Media Encoder while rendering. So I don't know if they fixed this yet, but if you have that issue, that's what it is. So I'm going to move on to the next one. And let's see. What are you guys laughing about? Are you talking to me?
No idea.
I just wrote it. I'm really excited to hear the podcast.
You guys
tomorrow.
are texting each other.
And the part where yeah, I'm just really excited to hear the part where Matt and I sing the Pokemon song, and like I'm really hoping it's gonna be really out of sync. I was just imagining how weird it's gonna sound.
Meanwhile, I'm over
Maybe
here
I can line it up.
David on Skype, and he's just like busting up laughing, trying to keep from laughing. And I'm like, "What are you laughing at? You're making me laugh."
Delirium.
Yeah, I almost muted the microphone. Oh man, it's like really late.
The question from Bo was, I would totally buy a texture pack. Actually, not a question, but I would totally buy your texture pack from you guys, which we've talked about doing that. I don't understand why that's so funny.
I can't take any of these serious conversations.
2 a.m.
anymore.
delirium at this point.
Yeah.
I'm still on Hawaii time. I'm good to go.
I'm actually good
Nice.
too because I got up so late. But yeah, we are talking about doing
Yeah,
a texture pack
super
for
hot.
Octane because I think that's something that's really, there aren't many people doing that. And Ben Dale says, did I miss something? Or it's basically said, I thought Oculus Rift didn't work with the Mac because, you know, we had that video out there about Unity and the answer to that.
You switch over to your PC side, right?
Well, the thing is, at the time, it was being developed for. So for a long time, they supported Mac and PC. They stopped supporting Mac. Now they've said that they might bring it back at some point, which would be nice. But I don't know if they're going to do that or not. We'll have to wait and find out, I guess. And yeah, and that's it. That's all I got.
All right.
Cool. We did it.
I'm going to see if we have any reviews on iTunes.
Cool.
Did we have any last week or the week before?
I don't know that we looked last. We might have looked the week before, but I don't remember.
It's not like anyone can search for us anyway.
Right. Well, I told you.
Did you guys give away the
We're about to
t-shirt?
hit the.
We did.
Yeah, we did. Andrew Garber got it. The guy who asked that question, Kerplunk.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I know y'all are friends, but you didn't know because I had you select the number at random.
It's true. Yeah, it was not rigged.
So, and I'm
Feels
assuming that arrived.
What's
I
the
got my
last one we read?
notification. Man, I can't even tell you. We'll do it next week. It's all right. We're at like 3 hours at this point.
We're almost. No, we need to break 3 hours. That's a record, probably.
That's the problem. Is I have to actually encode at a lower bit rate. The higher we go, because we hit a limit and the file size is too big.
I see.
Yeah.
So, all right, you can rate us on iTunes.
Here's like 2 or
Okay.
3 because I don't know if we've read these.
All right, go ahead. I'll tell you.
Feels like hanging out with my nerd buddies, except while I'm working at home in my undies.
underwear. Yeah, we did that one.
That's awesome. I love that comment.
Kerplunk, did we read this one?
I believe so. Yeah,
Dave
because
and
he
Matt
won,
are down-to-earth guys who discuss techniques and businesses working in Octane Render.
Yeah, because he won the contest.
Okay, oh, well, good. What about Fresh Mograph? Did we see that one?
Maybe sounds familiar.
July 24th. That was yesterday. No.
Oh, okay. What is it?
I look forward to each release of the Brograph podcast. At one point, I was so far behind, I could listen to an episode at will, but unfortunately, I'm all caught up and have to wait for fresh goodness. Well, you're in luck because this one's 3 hours long.
3
one's
hours
long.
of fresh goodness.
It's like
This is my go-to
it's like when you're watching a
podcast
TV
when
show.
I'm driving long distances because I know that the wide range of topics and humor will keep me awake. My wife really
wife.
appreciates that.
My wife.
Yes, I said it. You know what to do.
It's my wife inception.
Keep up the great work. Thanks for all the hard work you guys put into the podcast.
Yes.
Dave puts all the hard work into the podcast. I just sit back and derail us.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it is. I'll let you derail us next week.
I'm gonna make you edit next week. There we go. See?
All right. I shouldn't complain.
And I'll be like, Matt's gonna insert that right now.
No, I'm not. All right, cool. You can. Where did you leave off?
You can
did
rate
you say
us on
buy the
iTunes.
T-shirt? Did you say buy the new
Nope, I did not.
Brograph hoodie?
No
that
Brograph,
says,
no Mograph. Don't track me, bro.
Don't track me, bro.
That'll be
That's
our
great.
winter hoodie. That's what we'll come up with for the winter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be green.
Yeah, I did see
like
the
a
two
green
guys
screen.
who are listeners. I'm sorry, your names are have escaped my brain at this point of the night. Who they both wore their Brograph shirts to work on the same day by accident.
Yeah.
Did you see that tweet?
That's Paul and
and
DeSimone.
Yeah, is that Sent 3 Films or what? I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm crazy
Yeah.
right now. Is that right? I
They're
don't
our
know.
boys.
Those are our boys who made the awesome video.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing.
It was amazing.
Okay.
Organic.
Well, that's it. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube and Brograph.com. We have broken the 4,000 subscriber mark.
What?
We're slowly but surely catching up with The Rock, who is now approaching 1 million subs in like 2 weeks. Which
Yeah,
is
and
incredible.
actually the video, you know how it used to be like 311 views once it hit a certain amount?
Yes,
or
I
whatever?
noticed that. It's stalled.
It has stopped at 311 and 9 something for the Poke Rock.
Which is crazy
Sweet.
that it stalls at 311. I'm guessing that tomorrow it's going to be at the million mark.
No, now it's 345 938.
That seems low in comparison.
It
I wonder
does.
if it's going to change tomorrow.
Hmm.
There was a whole article on why it stalls like that. And they stop showing a count at a certain point for 3 days until something resolves. Really weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember the one time we had ours stop at like 311. We're like, oh my gosh, this is going to go viral.
Yeah.
Ended up being like 1,000 views on the
Yeah.
first day. That was pretty good though.
Lame.
All right, we're on Facebook, Twitter.
All right.
I already did all that.
Oh yeah, you did.
Thanks for
All right,
being on,
cool.
David.
Yeah, that was super
love
fun.
you.
3 weeks. I love you too,
Bro.
bro.
Until next week,
Ab-
I'm Dave.
I'm Matt.
I'm
Have a good
David.
one.
Later, bros.
Later, bros.
Womp, womp,
I want to
womp, womp.
be the very best.
The very best.
Like no one ever was.
You guys.
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was. Too bad I'm shit like all the rest. Poke Rock is the cause.
It's pretty good, I guess. Brograph.com, an online resource for learning critical components of Cinema 4D and After Effects, specifically catered to help you prevail as a motion graphic designer.
What's up, bros? Welcome to another Brograph motion graphics tutorial.
We give you professional, time-saving tips, shortcuts, and lessons that help give you an edge over your fellow designers. Not only this, but our new Brograph Talks help you in your file management, hardware configuration, and client relations.
I love projects that scare me. When our art director comes to us and asks for something that I had never done before, man, it gets me pumped.
Join us for live sessions, check out our crazy Cinema 4D experiments, or just watch our Fun with Brograph series, where we show you practical applications for techniques learned in previous tutorials. Do this from the beginning, and your client is going to respect that, and they're going to respect you, and they're going to respect your time. Subscribe today and get automatic updates on the latest tutorials, tricks, tips, and inspiration brought to you by industry professionals Dave Koss and Matt Milstead, all with a slight dash of dry humor peppered in. Real nice banana.
Brograph.com, your source for tutorials that will help you thrive in the motion graphics industry. Don't just play around with Cinema 4D and After Effects, master it, and make money by becoming indispensable at your workplace.
We don't care how you get here, folks. Just get here. Subscribe now to Brograph Tutorials. It's pretty good, I guess.